we've got a lot to talk about. You know, in fact, this is one of the very rare tea times where we actually have some really big news to talk about. It's remarkable in and of itself. Guild Wars 2, the news cycle can be a little bit slow, but no longer. Because we have got the new revealed vision for Guild Wars 2.
I feel like Living World just kind of held Guild Wars 2 back. Like, I really like Living World. I get really excited. I think most of us get really excited. Like, oh, there's a new patch, new map, new story. But it's like nobody outside of the game cares.
Because that's the problem with the yearly expansion, is that you have to have yearly interesting rewards. And everything sounds good until you like think 4 years down the road when we're 4 X packs later, and then you're like, well, if they did that every X pack, would it be good? And the answer to a lot of things is like no. So they have to really, I think, do like a variety of rewards like that are very different from X pack to X pack.
Speaking of selling X packs, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this big time. Elite specs are not looking likely. No. Yeah, wait. Yes. It is. See?
What?
I'm an expert. I'm an expert streamer. And speaking of streaming, welcome to TeaTime, everyone. You might be noticing that Sneb isn't here. That's because, unfortunately, his reaction to the roadmap was so high energy and just so visceral that he actually destroyed his own vocal cords and he is unable to actually speak. So yeah, unlucky there. But don't worry, we have guests who can make up for that. More than make up for that, of course. So we have Lara and Nike here. And you can actually see we have a bonus guest in Nike's camera there. We have the Frog, actually, the champion Verdant Brink Frog, who will also be, you know, giving some takes on the on what's going on with the roadmap. But yeah, anyway, what are we talking about today?
We can have Snap do the voice for the Frog. You know, like that would fit right now.
Yeah, he is a little bit squeaky right now, so that... Well, I mean, I don't think that Frog really has a squeaky voice, though, actually. It's a pretty normal voice.
Yeah, it just says, like, as if I was never there! Something like that.
But anyway...
I like that Sneb admitted that he's never soloed the Frog, and he went into Verdant Brink, killed by pocket raptors, and never went back like a real casual. So he has never defeated the Frog.
That's true.
Actually.
Because he never even got to the Frog, basically.
Yeah,
he didn't make it. Yeah. But anyway, we've got a lot to talk about. You know, in fact, this is one of the very rare tea times where we actually have some really big news to talk about. It's remarkable in and of itself. Guild Wars 2, the news cycle can be a little bit slow, but no longer. Because we have got the new revealed vision for Guild Wars 2. What expansions look like, what the living world has become, and many more things. So, let's leap into it. The biggest news, and I think this is the ultimately the fundamental change that's happened, is essentially Living World is dead. Living World is being changed to a different model where we're going to be buying expansions more regularly, and then essentially the Living World content is going to be attached to those expansions, and you'll still get the periodic updates, but instead of having a separate entity being the Living World, it will simply be part of the expansion, which is, I would say, much more comparable, funnily enough, to how a lot of other MMOs actually handle their update cycles. But yeah, that's the big news. What are we thinking about this? What do we think about this? This is big. This is big change.
I am really excited. It's like I said this while I was on your stream the other day. It's like for a real game now. I know that doesn't make that much sense. We were always a real game, but there's like a cycle. There is a plan. There's a long-term plan. Like, Guild Wars 2 has always been a surprise. It's always like, honestly, for us content creators, this might be bad because half of the time it's like speculating what's gonna happen next because nobody knows. But now we know what the idea is. We know what's gonna happen next. There's no more weird Living Wolves model that just confuses people outside the community. It's just like really clear now. You buy the expansion, you get the patches. I am really excited. I don't even know where to start. Like,
I mean, luckily, ArenaNet's never taken a system and gotten rid of it and started over again.
Yeah, to be fair though, they stuck with Living Wolves for like a long time.
Too long. Some might say.
This is the one time I'm excited they're shaking it up because I feel like Living World just kind of held Guilders 2 back. Like, I really like Living World. I get really excited. I think most of us get really excited. Like, oh, there's a new patch, new map, new story. But it's like nobody outside of the game cares. That's like, it's such a hard sell. Like, it's not really in the news cycle. Like, there will be a massive patch and nobody outside of our little like community even knows it's happening. And I feel like just, again, I don't even know where to start, but I feel like there's so much more potential for this to actually like get proper. Everyone's always talking about like Guilders 2's marketing, right? But I think one of the hard parts of their marketing is just that it's kind of complicated how Living Worlds works. It's like kind of hard to market. It's kind of hard to even explain to someone like what is Living Worlds, how do you buy it, how do you get it. This is like easier to market, and also, I'm just jumping ahead, but like the idea of having expansions more regularly, I feel like Elder Scrolls Online does this, where they put out like these DLCs regularly, and they're just always in the news cycle. Like, I'm always like reading about Elder Scrolls Online on Twitter, r/games, blah 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 blah. I'm always like, oh right, that game exists. There's a new expansion. There's a new DLC. I feel like this is so much better just for like getting people to realize the game exists. And I think EOD kind of showed that. EOD was coming out, like loads of people outside the community were suddenly like, whoa, right, Guilders 2 is a thing. And we're just kind of continuing that. We're just continuing this expansion hype cycle. I mean, are we? Like, the expansion will be different. Of course, we have to talk about that, but I don't know. I'm just really excited. I feel like this is way better. I feel like this is like they looked at the problem. They looked at like, why do people not care as much, and they just like looked at all the little like thingies, all the little issues it had, and tried to address it. And on paper, I think they did it. We'll have to see if it actually works out, but I feel like on paper it all just makes loads of sense.
Yeah,
so
it's a big psychological thing for sure. But yeah, go ahead, Nike. What have you got?
Yeah, one comment I saw in chat, and I've seen it echoed everywhere, is that there's no difference. It's still story patches that happen periodically between X packs. It's not entirely true from a storytelling perspective. The previous Living World was either story that came out to lead you to the next X pack, like ramping you up to like get you to the next X pack, or it was like its own essentially self-contained story where the following X pack had nothing to do with what happened in the living story, and the living story was just its own season, like its own self-contained story. And now it's going to sort of be X pack is half the story, and then the 2 follow-up patches are the conclusion of the story. So the players will be a lot more invested in finding out how the story ends, because you're not going to get, I'm sure the X packs will have like a satisfying conclusion, but there'll still be like unanswered questions that the next 2 patches will answer. But yeah, a casual player who only cares about story is going to want to log in for those more than they might care about a random living story patch that doesn't have anything to do with the expansion they've already played.
Yeah, and I feel like they have to, because these expansions will be smaller, right? So I feel like it might be harder to tell a satisfying story in basically what it feels like is half of the expansions that we're used to. So I feel like they'll need those patches to tell a satisfying narrative without it being like super short.
Yeah, I think the expansions are going to be self-contained, right? Or a little bit more so. And I think they actually could, if they really wanted to, they could definitely join expansions together and have them almost like sequels, or at least have some threads that continue between them. Because in theory, I think this is the really exciting thing, is that what they want to do here is essentially have a constant cycle of content, right? So there's almost no downtime. What they were talking about in the roadmap was that essentially it's going to be an expansion, then you're going to have quarterly updates, and then you're more or less going straight into the next expansion after that, right? So it's not like, it's not like we've experienced now where you have a significant amount of downtime with a bit of a content drought after a season ends going into the next expansion. It's very much going to be, okay, we finish off this expansion, you have about a similar amount of downtime, probably another 3 months, and then boom, you're going into another expansion instantaneously. In fact, this isn't confirmed yet, and of course, I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about this later, but the way the roadmap was worded, I think actually strongly implies that we're kind of looking at an expansion a year, right? And so you might have an expansion, 3 quarterly updates, and then boom, directly into another expansion after that, which, hey, if that happens, that's certainly pretty exciting, right? That's going to be a lot of content, a lot of consistency, and, you know, no downtime, which is something that, you know, Guild Wars 2 has definitely struggled with a little bit historically. You know, it's it's an exciting model, I think. And, you know, I'm going to bring this up. You know, I've got to do this. Do you know what I like? I like that ArenaNet are actually going to sell content more often as well. I think that Living World has definitely been probably a bit of a problem in this regard as well, is that essentially if you log into the game, you get it for free, which is, yeah, that's interesting, right? You just get everything for free by logging into the game. And I know that essentially we're going to be paying a bit more, probably on average. The expansions are going to be cheaper because it's more frequent. On average, you're probably going to be paying a little bit more overall. And I think that's by design. I think that ArenaNet probably do have a level of difficulty in kind of getting a really good return on the amount of effort they put into actually making new maps and so on and stuff like this. So yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good thing. You know, I'm not a huge fan of super aggressive microtransactions just to, you know, to pay the bills essentially for the game. I personally would much prefer developers to just flat out sell us the thing that they actually make, sell us the content. That's a model that I personally prefer. But yeah, we'll see how it actually turns out, what the pricing is going to look like. Again, it was said it's going to be a little bit cheaper. I think Ender Dragons was what, $30, I believe. So we could be looking at, you know, 20 to 25 in that sort of range for each expansion. But instead of every, you know, 2 to 4 years, you'll be buying that every year. In that regard too. I suppose we should actually talk about what's in these expansions, by the way.
No.
You know?
I didn't know.
So you just want to deliberately just not talk about that? Just keep them guessing?
Before we move on, I did want to say they do need... Living Story made no sense to people that were outside the community. Mm-hmm. They need a name for the follow-up patches.
For the patches, yeah.
It has to be maybe it's as simple as End of Dragons 1.1, but that is so played out. Like, it works for WoW, I guess, but like it's not good for Guild Wars 2. Like, you can't have like Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons 1.1. That's not buzzy. That's not getting attention. They need something marketable that people can also intuitively go, I know exactly what that means, you know?
Yeah, Final Fantasy does this, right? They've got like 6.0 is the expansion, and then 6.1, 6.0 are like the patches and stuff. I would almost think like End of Dragons, Chapter 1, but that would also be confusing now that I think about it.
It would end up like the Icefruit Saga. Icefruit Saga, Episode 3, Champions Part 1. You know, it's just really just have really good for that mark thing. You know, it's fantastic. Yeah, you definitely have to be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, you do want a term that you can use to describe these things, and something that will kind of catch people's eye, because yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, as we previously mentioned, this is definitely a marketing move as well. It's a psychological strategy, and you know, again, I'm just repeating what we already said here, but End of Dragons demonstrates that it turns out that expansions really get people excited. You know, in some ways it is a bit of a shame, because I think that in some ways the Living World model is actually really good. You know, you get very frequent updates. We're kind of getting both now, though, of course, though. We're getting essentially the little patches, but also the expansions as well, because you know what? It gets people to log back in. You know, it really does. I think people thought Guild Wars 2 was completely and utterly dead, even though it was kind of chugging along, just releasing content. The expansion is what really got people paying attention again. So it does work.
It just makes me happy to like read the blog posts and see them talking about like expansions, like plural. Yes. You know, like just knowing that their intention is to keep this going for a while. I think a lot of people were like, yo, I mean, this never made sense in my head, but a lot of people were saying like, oh, they're gonna do like one more expansion and then they'll be off to do their Unreal Engine 5 project or something. But it really makes it seem like they're planning to keep the game going for a long time. And I feel like a lot of us already realized that with like DirectX 11, alliances, seeing them like invest in all that sort of stuff. But it's nice to see them write expansions in plural. That makes me really, really happy.
So anyway, what's in these expansions? So, I'll tell you. What's happening? We're going to be getting 2 maps and obviously a bunch of story content with an expansion. 2 strike missions as well, and the challenge modes will be released in the quarterly updates. There's going to be a fractal attached to that as well. I believe that's in the quarterly update as well. It probably might vary, actually. There's a fractal being thrown to the mix there as well. New combat features. Well, there's going to be more on that later. That's probably one of the more controversial things that we can kind of jump into, actually. Notice they didn't say elite specs, everyone. Uh-oh. The fractal will almost certainly have a challenge mode as well. I'm pretty sure they're going to just slap challenge modes on everything. They said it did. Oh, there you go. Then boom, confirmed. All that kind of good stuff. And I think that's basically the shape of what these expansions essentially look like, broadly speaking. There's an extra map. There's one map that comes attached with the quarterly updates as well, I believe, with some additional story. So basically, an expansion cycle is Fractal with Fractal CM, two strike missions with strike mission CMs, 3 maps in total, a whole bunch of story, some combat features, and a whole bunch of new stuff. Probably, there's masteries getting thrown in there. You got bosses. You got all that kind of stuff. Pretty, that's... I mean, look. If you look at it like that, that's, weirdly enough, like, in my opinion, very similar to what we get now. If you think about it on a time basis, right? Because the expansion is essentially about half the size of the current expansions we get, but we're going to be getting that over twice as frequently. Right? For example, there's like a really big gap between Path of Fire and Ender Dragons. I believe there was a 2-year gap between Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. So we're going to be getting the same that we've got right now, except more frequently and formatted a little bit different. Or rather, there's going to be more frequent expansions. It's going to be formatted slightly differently, and the feature set is a little bit different, with a bit more focus on kind of maintaining instance content and other game modes, which in my opinion is a big win, right? It's a huge win, in my opinion, overall. I definitely do really enjoy open world content, and that is definitely an area where I think things are not going to be quite as expansive, because I guess Living World did produce a lot of maps, right? You got a map every, 3 to 4 months, basically, and that's not going to happen anymore. But I do want to quickly mention, let's be honest, guys, not every Living World Season 4 map, or like Season 3 map, they weren't exactly all riveting, right? Some of them were a little bit scuffed. Like sometimes you don't actually do anything in Corner, right? You don't do anything. The meta event doesn't exist. So,
and there's also like 2/3 of the map where there's literally nothing but sand and like ambient mobs.
But you can roller beetle there.
That's true. You can.
Was really fun.
Roller beetle should have been in the expansion. Yeah.
So what are we thinking? What are we thinking about the kind of the feature set, the content set? I definitely approve. I think they could really make it work.
I think it's fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting because like a lot of stuff is going to depend on the quality that it is. Mm-hmm. If the map they come out with is New Kaineng City, and that's like it for a long time, like the entire story is based on this garbage map, it's going to be pretty dismal. So they have to keep their standards as a studio really high. And that might mean smaller maps that feel more alive and have more content and like lots of little, a lot of everything, like a lot of like little hidden lore tidbits, a lot of adventures or races and meta events. And like meta event chains that don't do anything, that don't lead to anything besides like help build the world. Like there's meta event chains in vanilla Guild Wars 2 that you can follow, and it's not like they end in a world boss. They just end with like a mini boss or even nothing like that. But it like sets up the vibe of the world, the vibe of the map. And I think stuff like that is the things that didn't make it into EOD. Like the events that didn't lead anywhere, that helped world build, and hopefully they can get back to doing stuff like that.
Yeah, my read on the situation that ArenaNet has struggled with historically is that making the maps is really hard, right? Because they've tripped up quite a lot on that. I mean, they're really good at making things pretty, but sometimes, you don't really have that world building element. It doesn't feel complete in a way. And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that they've essentially been very rushed in creating some things. So I really hope they again, exactly as you said, kind of zone in and really focus on making these map experiences incredibly high quality and really engaging, and making sure they're very, very full and very, very active. I suspect that they will probably take an approach similar to the Icebrood Saga in this, by the way. I know that word kind of scares people, or that phrase scares people a little bit, but I actually would like to remind everyone that a lot of the maps, the quality of the maps in the early Icebrood Saga was actually pretty damn high, actually, with some really interesting stuff, some great visuals, some cool story, and some fun events actually on these things as well. And I expect that the quarterly updates will kind of expand the map, right? It's not going to be like, oh yeah, you get a map and then that's it. There's nothing else. The map will almost certainly change, and new parts of it will be revealed, or more stuff will be added to it. They've said as much, of course, in the post. And personally, I like that type of approach, right? I think the trade-off is that you maybe don't get to see as many different biomes, right? And, for example, in, I think, Living Story 3, you really see this, right? You're in a volcano, you're in Bloodstone Fen, right? You're in Lake Doric, right? There's a lot of variety there. But I think the frequency of expansions, and essentially the expansions being self-contained, will actually allow ArenaNet to explore a huge amount of locations and stories all over the world, without being kind of tethered to the dragon story, which essentially I definitely think bogged down the story as the game progressed into Ender Dragons, right? Like, being tethered to that has certainly limited their scope, and now that they're unchained, they can do whatever they want. But yeah, I think it should be interesting. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, focusing on quality and making these maps alive and really exciting, I think can definitely make this an overall better experience. That kind of stuff.
Sounds like the chat likes Borgia Marches. I'm gonna squish them now and say why it was bad. So snow maps and desert maps are pretty bad, because it's just one biome, one color palette, no variation. You could get dropped in one section of it, wouldn't know where you were. Like, if you didn't have the HUD, you'd be like, oh, I'm in a snowstorm. Wow, cool. There's some trees. Not good. The best maps are ones that have biomes that transition as you go through the map. Of course, we'll go back to the best map in the game in terms of visuals, and that's Timberline Falls. Everyone knows that's correct. In the north of the map, it's like an alpine, like, mountain summit thing. Plus, there's like the whole cave system with the dredge, and that's cool. And then it transitions to like this, like, sort of like waterfall valley, sort of like subalpine like region. And then at the south of the map, it transitioned into like a swamp. And it's all like so seamless how it like perfectly transitioned. And it feels like, I don't know, like you're not burned out seeing the same color palette the entire map. It has a nice aesthetic in that regard.
I feel you on Timberline, but I actually do like Bjora. I'm a Bjora fan. I feel like it's just important that these maps have some longevity. I really liked Season 3, which is like, it's all these different places in the world, and I was like, oh, I want to go there, which was really cool. And then in Season 3, that actually happens. But I'm kind of done with those maps. Like, I don't really have much of a reason to go back. I feel like in Season 4, they got better at it, because they started doing like actual map metas, which weren't really as much of a thing in Season 3. And in Icebrood, they really went like, yo, we want to do less maps, but, sort of try to focus on longevity, try to make sure every map actually has meta events that keeps people coming back. I think it's a good move, especially with how big the game is now. You're spreading out population over a huge amount of maps at this point. I think it makes sense to like focus on high quality replayable maps. So honestly, like 2 with an expansion and then a third one, maybe in like a yearly cycle, maybe slightly longer. That those sound pretty good to me. And honestly, like, it's not like, let's say they actually managed to pull off a yearly cycle. It's not even that much less as back in the Living World days, right? Because like, I think it was like 1 map roughly every 3 to 4 months. This is pretty close to that. 3 maps a year, 4 maps a year. It's pretty similar. Again, the cycle might take a little bit longer than 3 years. Something that really excites me though is what you just mentioned. Like, now that the Dragon Saga is over, and also now that they're doing smaller expansions, to me it just feels like they can explore so many interesting places, right? Like, before it was like, oh, well, we just did Path of Fire. Well, that means that the next couple years is all going to be desert content, right? Like, this is where we're going. This is our long expansion cycle. But we could be going to like a different place every single cycle, right? We could have a cycle where we go to Gen Fair. We can have one where we go to the other place in Canva. We can have, I don't know, it's a new desert expansion. We can have a Maguma Coast expansion. That is so exciting to me. I'm
Argos
really
expansion.
Ooh.
let's
Playable
go.
race added to the game.
I can see it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
that's cope. That is cope. That's like Wing 8 level of cope, to be honest. That's a lot of cope.
I do agree. I
Yeah.
do
We'll
agree
talk
with
about
that.
that when we get to the
I will
gameplay,
admit that.
features, the combat features.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely some exciting times, I think. I think we should probably also mention the slight elephant in the room here is that kind of trimming down the living world just a little bit, and again, kind of focusing on like high quality maps instead of kind of like spamming out a bunch of maps. Arena are also doing this because they want to look at other areas of the game. And this is, again, stated explicitly. Basically, Living World took the entire team, basically, or almost all of ArenaNet, just blasting at full speed to make the Living World exist. So, obviously, if you look at stuff like, when was the last Fractal released? It doesn't look good, right? I think it's like 890 days at this stage since the last Fractal. And I know not everyone plays Fractals, but essentially dungeon content, 5-player content, it's kind of the bread and butter of MMOs, right? A lot of the time, right? And now that Arena is actually releasing one of those, hopefully, well, every year or every expansion cycle, I think that's actually super exciting, right? A huge amount of players get into Fractals. I think players are obviously interested in other things like World versus World, which is going to be hopefully better maintained. We've already seen a lot of iteration happening with the reward structure. Alliance is on the way. All this kind of good stuff. We could be seeing systemic improvements to Fractals, potentially looking at, I don't think we're going to see a new raid. We can talk about that a little bit later, I guess, just for the content, but I can 100% see them reworking some of the reward structures like they did with the challenge modes, for example, polishing up stuff like Embolden to improve accessibility, etc., etc., etc. These are things that ArenaNet were really having a tough time to basically fit into their development cycle because they were completely going all in on Living World. So they weren't able to essentially maintain the existing parts of the game, and essentially everything except the story content more or less got left to rot. Which is, well, I don't think that's very good, you know? I mean, story is great. Who doesn't love the story, guys? Who does not love Timey? Who does not love Braham? Who does not love the canon Zojja lore that Nike is an expert on, right? Okay, that's where the real content is. Okay, and the Braham lore as well.
Braham, yeah. That was what made Grothmar Wardowns one of the best patches.
I'm out. Yeah. End of the Bolskulls. I've been like baited. We were gonna talk about the roadmap he set. Like
now look what's happened. You're trapped.
All roads lead to Bramga.
Yeah. But yeah, I think maintaining all areas of the game is really good. I think one of the best parts about Guild Wars 2 is the variety, right? You know, whenever I go like, oh man, I'm not really feeling like raids today. I'm not really feeling like open world. I can just go play World versus World. I can go queue up for PvP. I can ride around on a beetle, right? There's a huge amount of variety and loads of options for you to choose from. And if those are better maintained, I think that's pretty awesome, to be honest. Because there have certainly been some core features of Guild Wars 2 that I think have been severely lacking, right? Let's be honest. It does look a little bit silly when your MMO releases one dungeon every 3 years, essentially. Probably not that great.
Also, it's the quality of life stuff, right? In the past year, they did a lot of like just quality of life updates, and I was kind of scared that, you know, as we were moving out of this season 1 returns period, that the quality of life team would basically just be disbanded. But they talk about wanting to continue like improving game fundamentals. They specifically mentioned a map queuing feature, which I was honestly never expecting. That's like big. That is a significant amount of development effort to like make that happen. That makes me excited. The fact that they want to keep like, you know, focusing on stuff like this, and not dedicate the entire studio to just producing this story and map content. I gotta say though, also is talking about what is in each expansion basically. I am actually somewhat positively surprised by how much hard content there is in there. I think that, I think a lot of us people who enjoy raids content and stuff like that, I think it's very common for us to be like, yo, this content is really important. Gotta get a lot of this. But I think the reality is that not that many people actually play hard instanced PvE content. It's like very niche. I could, there was like a time period after Wing 7 where it felt like there was like nothing, right? Like it took a little while. Eventually we got like Sunqua challenge modes. Then Strike Teams kind of brought it back. It makes me very happy to see them sort of like sort of like putting like on paper that they want to keep producing this regularly. Again, I'm sure that lots of people would have wanted more, but looking at how small the instance PvE scene is, I am very happy to see them being like, yo, from now on, every expansion is going to have strikes. It is going to have strike CMs, which is like hard 10-man content. It is also going to have a Fractal and a Fractal CM. Like the fact that every Fractal they're putting in is going to have a CM makes me very, very happy. The fact that they're not just going like, yeah, most people don't play the CM anyway. Let's just make a normal Fractal. That's way faster. No, they're like dedicating themselves to being like every expansion cycle will have a Fractal challenge mode and it will have 2 strike challenge modes. Again, I think lots of us were hoping for more. I think a lot of people were hoping for like, a raid every expansion cycle.
Wing 8.
Wing 8. I was a believer. My hope is gone. I think raids are actually fully dead now. There's no way they can fit it into this schedule. My hopes have been crushed. But I am still positively happy that we're getting strike CMs, which I really enjoy. And we're getting Fractal CMs, which I even enjoy more. I think I honestly like Fractal CMs more than raids. I really like Fractal CMs, so I'm happy to see one is coming. Yeah, there's gonna be one also. Like we're kind of talking about expansion now, but it's gonna be a Fractal CM in the first half of this year. They said that, right? Did they say the first? I think they said first half of this year.
Yeah, like at some point this year at least. Yeah.
That makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, so
I'm very excited about that.
It's very big.
I would like to know what they're looking at as far as like strike CM difficulty, because we're getting 2 per year. One of the patches is going to have the Fractal and the Fractal CM. So if I was the game director, what I would do is have the patch that has the Fractal and the Fractal CM, make that the strike that's got the slightly easier CM. And then the other patch that's just all it has is the strike CM. I would make that one slightly the more challenging, like sweatier CM that's going to require a lot of wipes. And I don't think we're ever going to get another HTCM. Maybe not on a yearly basis, I don't think. But there is a nice middle ground that they could reach where it's like I think they did it with Kainang Overlook CM. Like I think that took a lot of polls to kill. So
yeah, a couple hours still goes first, wasn't it?
Like well,
like 5 hours, I think.
We've got to caveat this a little bit. The reason why is because absolutely nobody knew how any of the mechanics worked. The reason why this even applies to Harvest Temple CM to extent, but 100% to Kainang Overlook CM, is nobody knew particularly how the sniper worked at all, or like how the mech actually worked. So everyone had to kind of figure that out from scratch. Whenever ArenaNet release a strike mission from now on, people will do their homework and they will go in and knowing absolutely everything. And I'm not just speculating there. That's exactly what happened with Old Lions Court. I did it myself. We did a lot of practice and training and executing the normal mode. And as a result of that, basically all of the guilds that were, kind of competing for Worlds First, they essentially killed it first try. Because even though it's hard, by the way, like this is a Old Lions Court challenge, right? And even the normal mode is actually pretty difficult. It has if you mess that up, you are going to get absolutely wrecked. I wouldn't say it's even necessarily easier than the other Ender Dragons strike missions actually on challenge mode. I would say it's pretty comparable to kind of the mid tier of difficulty in those strike missions. The difference is the way the player base approached it. The player base approached it were like, okay, hang on, serious business. That's Harvest Temple CM in action though, right? It really got people really got excited about progression and kind of competitive World's First style stuff. So people prepared and absolutely obliterated it. And that will happen every single time now. And if ArenaNet want to, essentially, if they do want to have a kind of a World's First race thing, they need to play around that. They need to design the game around people being a lot sweatier when it comes to actually approaching this.
It'll require having mechanics that aren't just more punishing versions of the normal mode. It'll have to
be novel. Yeah.
It has to be like almost like the opposite or like less predictable. Like, and then on top of that, it's going to need to have like rather aggressive DPS gate on it.
So you have to execute.
Yeah. You can't just brute force it.
It's a
they
super
need, like,
interesting
a term.
one.
They need like a term, I think. Like, you know how Final Fantasy has like ultimates? I think WoW just has like they have a certain term for that, like hardest rate difficulty. Because I think you've got Straxiums, but like Harvest Temple was like way beyond what usually a Straxium is. I think they need like a term that's like, yo, this is gonna be like Harvest Temple, like an ultimates. And again, I don't see them doing it every cycle. Because again, something like Harvest Temple CM is even accessible to less people than regular strike CM. So if they only do 2 strikes each cycle, I don't see them like dedicating half of that to the very niche community. But I could see it happening like every 2 expansions. I could totally see that. And then they'll be like, yo, this expansion is gonna have an ultimate strike or something like that. You know, just this that they tell us beforehand, and then people can kind of get the first race going a little bit. You know, right now it's like, oh, is this Straxium gonna be hard? Who knows? Like, it was hard the last time. Maybe this one will be hard too. But yeah, we just need to know beforehand. That'll be so exciting.
Setting expectations is really important. You know, people were incredibly excited. People were like, oh yeah, Old Lions Court Challenge Mode, let's go. It's going to be challenging. And people were definitely deflated a little bit because people didn't really know what to expect, for sure. I don't want to be the Doom Lord. I don't want to be the Doom Lord. I actually think it's going to be really difficult for ArenaNet to fit in anything ultra challenging. And listen, I can already see the comments now. Oh yeah, who cares? It's like 0.001%. Listen, okay? I like this stuff. And that's why I'm speaking. It's my podcast. I can say what I like. I know it's not a big deal. It's not going to like ruin the game or kill the game by not having really, really intense content. But I do think it's incredibly exciting. Not just for the players who are playing it, but also for everyone watching, the community, and hell, even people outside the game, kind of they raise an eyebrow when they see Harvest Temple Challenge or something like that. So I think it's a pretty useful thing to have around. I really hope they can fit it in somewhere. But again, it's super difficult when you're only releasing 2 strikes in an expansion. To have like, oh yeah, the challenge mode is absolutely insane because the step up in difficulty between a more accessible challenge mode to the Omega challenge mode is going to be ridiculous. And even if you look at EOD, the step up between Kaining Overlook challenge mode and Harvest Temple, it is a lot, right? It's a significant jump when you go between those 2 things.
Okay,
and,
so here's a thought experiment.
Do it. Let's go.
I know this can't happen for resource reasons. But would you...
3rd difficulty?
Well, no. Would you rather have 4 normal mode strikes per year or 2 regular and 2 challenge modes with the understanding that the challenge modes are going to be like Old Lions Court challenge modes, like relative to the normal mode where it's not that big of a difference?
I'll take the 2
Obviously,
CMs. 2 with CMs for sure.
Really? Because don't you think they're kind of worthless? Like if they're not going to be harder? If they're not going to be noticeably harder,
I mean, it's noticeably harder. I'd rather have something challenging than something that we're just going to obliterate. Even if it's not like really, really hard, and it only takes maybe, I don't know, like a couple of tries to kill. I'd prefer that to just things that you just completely roll, I would say.
You know, we got to keep in mind, I think for most players, Old Lions Court Challenge mode is actually very hard. Like, I've been in many groups that have struggled very hard with Old Lions
Sneb's
Court
never
Challenge
been
mode.
in one.
He hasn't done it. Yeah.
And now his voice is gone, so he can't even try.
Yeah. Cannot.
Sad days.
He cannot even get into a group on NA. He feels like he has to buy.
We'll sell. No problem. Contact me.
My God.
We can also get him the migraine achievement because he's never beaten Heart of Thorns either.
That's true.
For the
that actually is true.
either.
This is so good. We can actually expose Sneb and he can't even defend himself because he actually can't speak. This is actually really funny.
Sneb.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
the heck?
exactly. It's time for us to go hard on Sneb. You know, the worst part is that people might think we're not joking. Okay, don't worry. We still love Sneb, guys. We're still friends. But that's true. Seriously, Sneb actually confessed the other day. He said, I have never beaten Heart of Thorns because I died to Pocket Raptors and I couldn't progress the story. You might think that actually sounds like bullshit, but that's actually true. Sneb's in the chat right now. He can probably confirm that. You know, he just did not, you know, he did not want to, you know, continue. The Pocket Raptors were actually too powerful. Yeah.
Pocket Raptors are harder than Half Sample CM.
Yeah.
Clearly.
True. Actually true. Sneb
So-
is a Void Walker.
Before we move off the topic of like the strikes and fractals, one thing that wasn't mentioned at all was like reward structure. Like they didn't say we're going to have new legendaries. They didn't say we're moving towards an end game. You know, we're moving towards like infusions as the big reward. Like they can't come out with maybe they can come out with a full set of legendaries every year. Like one, I mean, I guess that's not, I mean, it's just one artist, right? Like making a set of legendaries every year. But I feel like if you do a full set of legendaries every year, people will get like completely burned out on that. I don't know if that's such an interesting reward 3 years down the road. So yeah, so I'm curious of like where they're gonna go, because that's the problem with the yearly expansion, is that you have to have yearly interesting rewards, and everything sounds good until you like think 4 years down the road when we're 4 X packs later, and then you're like, well, if they did that every X pack, would it be good? And the answer to a lot of things is like no. So they have to really, I think, do like a variety of rewards like that are very different from X pack to X pack.
I think it's very likely they'll keep doing the 1 infusion per strike CM thing, which is they kind of did this infusion with the.
But is that even sustainable?
Oh, maybe they can do 1 per 2 though. You know, in 1 expansion cycle, 2 of them, and then you can get the infusion from.
Or
them.
you combine the 2 infusions, the one that you get from each, to make a Giga infusion. Yep.
I can see that. I mean, that seems to be working. They did it with Old Lion's Court as well. There was like the Clockwork infusion for that. Honestly, I think that's for the strikes and the fractals, gold will just kind of motivate people. You know, right now there's like 5 strike CMs. And a lot of people I know actually like run at least the slightly easier ones every week, just because you actually get a lot of gold from them nowadays. The Royce have been buffed. Like when they came out, the Royce were like super bad, but you can get like 8 gold from doing Kiting Challenge mode, which I actually know motivates a lot of people to do Kiting Challenge mode. I think just the gold will get people to do it. You know, looking at people that do fractal CMs every day just for that gold, I think that will be enough to keep people playing. But I am curious, like legendaries, right? Like, didn't say anything about stuff like that. I'm sure they're gonna come up with something exciting and new you can get, but
I'd like to see
that's an interesting one.
open world PvE legendary armor.
Oh,
I'm talking
me
like
too.
a colossal collection that has you do like loads of crazy stuff. I want, you know what?
And the end result is gear that looks like starter gear. Like the skins are like
what?
The skins are like Queensdale level 1 tier skins that have like two pixels, 2 polygons, like ridiculously bad. Like your character's wearing like a potato sack, but it's legendary. That would be really good.
I can see them doing a ring. You know how there's like 1 Volt ring, and there's a lot of PvEers who are like, I want to get my last legendary ring, but I don't want to do Volt. So that's like perfect. It's like make a new PvE ring people can get.
And they'll still have to do World Boss Sword anyway. They'll need the Gifted Battle to make the thing
true.
right. There's no escape.
That's true.
There's no escape from World Boss's World. You must embrace it. Yeah, because you need 5 Gifts of Battle, right? I think for the ring or something like that. Or maybe it's even
for
might even be more
conflicts.
than that. Yeah, you need quite a lot.
I got mine. I don't even play much World Fuels, but I went for it and I finished it.
That's big.
I'm very proud.
Are you full legendary?
I don't have the runes and sigils. I'm like, they're not exciting to me. I don't know. I should.
It looks terrible. When everything's purple
That's
except
true.
these like gross
That's
exotic
true.
things touching your gear.
But just weapons are more exciting. In the past 2 weeks, I made 2 legendary weapons. I made the Exordium, I made the Arene Hammer. I'm going for like 1 of each weapon type, and then who knows, I'll do runes and sigils at some point.
Did you say you made Exodia there, by the way? That did not sound like Exordium. That was like, I made Exodia.
No, Exordium. That's just my accent. That's the Dutch sheeping for.
I like that. There are various versions of Exodia that also, there's some forbidden lore there, actually, funnily enough. But yeah, this is forbidden lore tea time, apparently. But anyway, yeah, I can see them. I think it is really hard for ArenaNet to reward the players. This is one of the things that I think the game really struggles with. Because anything that they want to add to the game, they kind of want to put it in the cash shop, right? I'm not even having a go there. I'm thinking about this from business perspective, right? It's really hard for them to actually give players cool stuff, right? Because let me tell you, I mean, we even have evidence of this, right? People went berserk for the siege turtle, right? And everyone was trying to get Dragon's End, and everyone was going into Kaineng Overlook to get the turtle, right? And that's all good, but the thing is they can't really do that very frequently. They don't want to. I guess they could do it with some of the baseline features, but they can't give you a mount skin, right, for doing something or completing some kind of content. I very much expect them to add player housing as a mechanic. I think that's like one of the very obvious things that ArenaNet could add as a new mastery, for example, down the line, or some kind of progression system. But realistically, all the furniture and all the the collectibles and decorations and stuff like that, it's probably going to be cash shop. Like, they can probably squeeze some of them into the game, and I think that might be a solid motivator. You could throw some in you have like a fractal chair, you know what I mean, or like a fractal bed to erotic roleplay on. The possibilities are endless. There's definitely some stuff they can do there, but yeah, rewards are definitely a big pain point for Guild Wars 2 in general, because gold is fun, but it's not everything, right? Infusions are really good, but it's tough. It's a tough problem to solve.
There is something they can do to mimic vertical progression without it actually being vertical progression, and that's have like new sort of gear slots, but the gear is only active in the expansion zones. So it's not like a permanent power creep for the whole game, but it is like a power creep for those zones. But those zones are built around having this new gear slot, that you can work your way up. Like everyone will start with like blue, and then like you like work your way up. And then when the next expansion comes out, the thing from the last expansion won't be relevant. It won't be turned on because it's zone specific. They sort of did that this league in Path of Exile, where you get like a sanctified relic that your character can carry, and it gives you like a very powerful effect, but it's going to be wiped from the game when the league ends, and no future leagues will have it. So it's just like a temporary vertical progression. And I think you could mimic that in Guild Wars 2 by having it be like, well, in these 3 maps, you get like this new sort of amulet or whatever you call it that you can upgrade, like a belt maybe or something, because we don't have a belt slot. A belt that you can like upgrade and craft on and get up, do quests to get upgrades for, to make it like very specific for your build. But then when you go to other zones, it just doesn't do anything. And I think that would be a way to introduce vertical progression into every X pack without it power creeping the game. It's kind of like
the WoW thing, isn't it? Yeah, like the whole Boros power mechanic. I always see people talking about.
I think a bit of a. I think a bit of a halfway addition there would to actually be making the mastery system a bit better. So instead of it being like, oh, you press F on a bunch of mastery points and then grind XP to unlock a mastery, they could say, okay, if you want to unlock player housing, you have to go on like a pretty epic quest, for example, and it's gonna be like a proper meaty collection. You've got to invest like a good chunk of time into it. It's gonna take you a while to unlock this, and they could essentially make masteries what maybe they should have always been, right? Like, dare I say the sky scale? I think more like the roller beetle, right? Yeah, the sky scale maybe a little bit too far. Okay, I think I got the point after the 7th egg I collected, but overall, it's a good concept, right? I think that type of approach can be pretty solid for giving you that kind of progression experience attached. I think that's why they added collections to legendaries, right? And you know what? I've got to actually say this. I really like those legendary collections, and you know what? I'm going to go even further. Do you know one of the reasons why I never did Aurora? It's because my chat said, do not do Aurora it mentally destroyed me. I hated the game during Aurora. I hated everything about it. I wanted to uninstall. I actually really liked Aurora. Aurora was actually good.
Vision was so much worse.
Vision was way worse.
Vision
way
was
worse.
so much worse.
Yeah, and do you know the thing is, they made Vision worse because people complained about Aurora, right? They was basically people said, "Oh, the collection is too long in Aurora." So ArenaNet was like, "Well, okay then. Here is the collection is really short now, but it's also very cancer at the same time. Enjoy." And yeah, I want more Aurora. Aurora's good.
Let me play a counterpoint to your idea of locking. If your killer feature for an X-Pack is locked behind quests that take forever to do, people are going to go, "Oh, sick player housing," log in on the day it releases and go, "Holy shit, I don't get to do my player housing for 100 hours. Gotta go. Catch you later. Got better things to do with my life." And they'll be fucking out. Just like
getting Sky Scale and Turtle Flash.
Exactly. Right Sky Scale. I mean, I have to give it to WoW. You get your fucking Sky Scale the second you log in. You know, you get your mount immediately. And ArenaNet admitted this when they changed how easy they made it way easier to unlock your elite spec in HOT. Like it used to be when HOT first came out. Like you had to basically get every hero point in HOT to unlock your elite spec, and people were pissed. People were like, "Oh, I wanted to I was so hyped to play Berserker, and now I have to basically beat HOT, do all the story and explore all the maps before I can even start to play my elite spec. That sucks." And so they tweaked it so that you could pretty much unlock it very early in the first map, because they realize people want that they want that juice immediately when they log in on patch day.
I think you gotta have both. You gotta have the exciting thing when you log in.
Yeah, you should get the basics, and then you should get your Sky Scale, but then you have to do the instead of the masteries just being collect mastery points, it should be quests to get your Sky Scale more powers.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good hybrid approach, right? So you get the feature immediately, but there's also an element of progression to it, because progression is important.
Yeah.
That you do have to have that to kind of keep players engaged, and I do think collections are a very good way of doing that. To be honest, they maybe look at the interface on those as well, because the interface is unhinged. The achievement panel, what the hell is that thing? But yeah, I think looking at that will be good for the reward structures. Throw in some legendaries. I think legendaries will still be. I mean, in some way, it kind of has to be legendaries, because legendaries are the backbone of the Guild Wars 2 economy, to be honest. So I think they do need to be present in some sense. There definitely is a concern about burnout for sure. Can you imagine another full set of legendary weapons every year, like Nike was saying? And that would be pretty intense, right? That's a lot of gold if you want to keep up with that. That's for sure. But maybe we are looking at this from a kind of a meme perspective. I mean, I think realistically, most people aren't going to make the whole set, right? They might make one or zero, right? Or maybe just dream of making one at some point rather than overly committing to it. But yeah, I think that legendaries will definitely be a feature. They just maybe didn't want to confirm it because maybe they're not totally sure what they're doing in that direction right now. But yeah, we'll see.
Legendary Aqua Breather.
Infusions.
It's happening.
Legendary
Void
food.
Variant.
Void variant.
That would be sick, actually. Infinite food you can put down.
The Void variant before the next X-Pack. It has to be.
I mean, do you think they're going to make Void variant? I mean, they're doing Sue 1 variant.
I need my edgy emo legendaries.
Okay.
My Black Smoke legendaries.
And then you can play Power Berserker. And then you can
I
really...
can blast My Chemical Romance while I clear raids. And that's what I want.
Yo, imagine if you get a Void variant, if you get the whole set. I would actually love that.
That'd be really
cool. You gotta get all the variants. You get your stuff, you get all the variants, and then you get the Void. Oh, I'm like, whoa. That'd be awesome.
That would be really cool, actually. I think secret stuff like that is really fun. When there's a hidden thing a surprise.
The Griffin was so cool. I love when they had the Griffin and Puff of Fire.
Now,
the hidden Griffin, huge fucking mistake. Having that be a hidden feature of Path of Fire.
Yeah, looking at
isn't it kind of the greatest selling point they could have had for that expansion? All of the marketing should have been about the fucking Griffin. It should have been all these hype videos of the fucking Griffin going, look what you're going to get when you buy Path of Fire. And it's the fucking Griffin, and people would have been shitting themselves with excitement. Instead, they were like, guess what? Here's Path of Fire, an expansion, and we're not going to tell you any features, by the way, except we're going to show you the raptor. Gotta go. And that was basically the marketing.
They showed us the cute Benny.
Imagine they had it. They had the Griffin. That was a killer feature that would have sold a lot of copies of the X-Pack that they didn't end up selling. They really, I mean, that's just amazing to have, like, you have a product that people will pay actual American dollars for, and you're like, let's not show that off. Let's just surprise people. Fuck surprises. Show us what we're getting and hype it the fuck up.
I did like that it was a bit of a secret, though. Right? This is one of those things where marketing doesn't gel with making something really exciting and a lot of fun for players to kind of discover. Because, yeah, you're absolutely right. Obviously, it would be a massive marketing point, but on the other hand, I do like that there was that discovery element. I think that's something. There
was a whole 4 hours there where people were like, "What's this Griffin shit that I keep finding on when I kill mobs? Oh, a Griffin feather. What's that?" And then people start going, "Yeah, I think there's another mount." So there was a good 4 hours of suspense while we figured it out.
I do like it when there's a bit of a mystery.
I enjoyed that. Yeah,
I think the mystery has been sucked out of modern MMOs because we have that's because of all the guides and all the. It's my fault. All the content creators, we're awful, aren't we? All that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do miss a bit of adventure, right? Something that is a little bit unknown to an extent, rather than everything being quantified infinitely. So yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that's nice, but they got to sell X-Packs. You gotta hit them with your best stuff up front. No album filler, all hit singles. Let's go.
Speaking of selling X-Packs, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this big time. Elite specs are not looking likely. This is one of the, I think, one of the potential slightly scary parts of the expansion, I'd say. But ArenaNet very clearly specified that there will be new combat features coming out with each expansion. Now, let's be honest here. They would have said elite specs if there were going to be elite specs. Like, they would have been very explicit about it. This is going to be the tough one. I do feel that ArenaNet completely backed themselves into a corner with this, historically, because now it's such an expected part of the expansion, and of course a very popular and exciting part of an expansion. They didn't really think about the long-term ramifications of adding basically 9 new classes with every expansion, in terms of maintaining the game, balance, new player information overload, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I can understand why they made this decision, and also we also have to know that basically it's really hard for them to maintain this and also balance the game at the same time. Bear in mind, guys, when elite specs were being churned out, there was essentially no balance being done. It was like, oh yeah, maybe a patch a year, and sometimes nothing changes. So bear that in mind. So this really frees them up a little bit, but it is worth noting that doesn't mean they can't kind of switch up the game. But before we get into that, what are we thinking? Is anyone are we worried about the lack of elite specializations? Are we doomed? Is it over?
I am worried. I am worried because there's a large minority of players who that is literally the only content in the expansion. If you're a World v Worlder, elite spec is literally the only thing you have to look forward to in the expansion.
Same with PvP, of course,
or PvPers, and to an extent, like some of the Raider endgame people are they care more. They care about the strikes too, and the fractal, but the elite spec is the big selling point. So yeah, I'm scared in that there's plenty of things that are awesome that they could do to replace it that also have less design work behind them. There's very simple but elegant and awesome things they could do. Will they do it? That's the question. They could just give us another special action key like Bora Marches and call it a day and go, there's your combat feature, and then we could all cry that we're not getting elite specs, but we are getting a new special action key. That would be really sad. It depends how much effort they're going to put into these combat features. And there's plenty of good ideas. I made a whole video, check it out. But there's good ideas out there. They just have to actually tell us what they're going to be. And I'd like them to not necessarily spoil it, but I would like them to kind of clarify the scope of what they're talking about. Like maybe like they don't have to, like, they could say, hey, we're not doing dual classes, or that's not our plan, but that is the sort of thing that we will be doing. And that way people can go, okay, so they are somewhat ambitious still with their plan. But if it's just like a special action key, then that's obviously not going to please anybody.
I wasn't really worried at first, but I kind of am now. So the thing is, though, I don't really mind that there's no elite specs probably coming in the next expansion, because we just had a full set like a year ago. Last time was like 4 years between POF and EOD, so I wasn't expecting any elite specs anytime soon anyway. But in my head, it made a lot of sense that they would just like at some point start doing them again. Like have an expansion, have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 elite specs in an expansion, and then another expansion have like some more elite specs as well. I was like, they'll probably do that, right? Like I think there's probably room for one more set. You probably can't release them all at the same time, but it would still be really exciting, just even if there's a couple. I've got this thing in Guilders too, where I'm trying to like learn basically every like meta PvE build. So for me, I don't really mind which elite spec is coming out. Like I still haven't gotten around to Untamed. I just started playing Vindicator like 2 weeks ago for the first time. So for me, 9 elite specs at once is actually kind of a bit of overload. It takes me a lot of time to like get around to each one and give them like a proper shot. So like, if they just do like 2 or 3 every once in a while, I'll be pretty happy. But then I saw that a lot of people feel very differently about that. I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, well, if they don't do a full set, and if like, I don't know, I'm a warrior main, if they don't do warrior, I'll be so upset. I'll get out my pitchfork.
It feels bad.
I guess it does. I guess I hadn't considered that perspective very much, because I play like every class, right? I don't care which one is coming out.
As a warrior main, when POF came out and Spellbreaker was basically DOA for PvE on arrival, and I imagine that like PvE engineer mains when HRT came out were like, okay, so Scrapper's unplayable in PvE, and it just feels like a whole, like I waited 2 years for this expansion and got nothing.
Yeah.
And then now I have to wait 2 more years and maybe not get anything next time. So yeah, it does feel bad if you don't get it. Granted,
exactly.
they fixed it later.
I think I'm kind of shielded from this, because I don't really have a main. I just play whichever elite spec seems fun at the time. But I guess if you are very specifically like, I'm a fire wizard or I'm a warrior main, I guess that is not as fun of a thing. So I could see ArenaNet wanting to stay away from it. I could see them being like, oh, we kind of don't want to do just 3. Then people might not take it well. I know, I'd take it well. I'd be happy if they just start doing elite specs again at all, even if it's not a full set, or just be excited. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be backlash. I didn't really anticipate that, but just from seeing a lot of people in my chat the past couple of days, I think that's maybe this might be the end for elite specs, to be quite honest.
I'll tell you what I think the first one's going to be. I'll throw it out here, and we'll see how this ages in a year.
Okay.
I think we're getting sidekicks. We know they were tinkering with that system. It was data mined. We know they were tinkering with it. I think they were like, look, this needs more time to cook, and so they've been cooking. And
it was like announced, right, back in like 2010 or something, like years before Guilders 2 came out. They were talking about how sidekicking was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And also there was going to be an NPC companion. Everyone could have one NPC companion with them. And then when the game actually like got revealed, they were just gone, kind of. But yeah, early Guilders 2 news, sidekicking and having a companion was a whole thing back then.
That would be bad. I would not like that. I do not want to have AI. I don't look. It's bad enough having.
What are you talking about? You guys just Death Knighted Suwon. Imagine if instead of all those minions, instead of roach gameplay, it was all sidekicks.
I mean, I guess that could be pretty funny. And look, I mean, the meta events wouldn't fail anymore. The sidekicks would be doing insane DPS.
It would also be great if you had to equip the sidekicks. It would give you such a good use for all the stupid ascended gear that drops that you don't need anymore once you have legendaries. Like if your sidekicks have like build panels and stuff, so you could, but they could only you couldn't use Legendary Armory. So like there's just like now there's just like this endless black hole sink of ascended gear that you would need. And that would be it would make ascended rewards feel good still. Like you'd be like, oh sweet, a stat selectable ring just dropped. Finally. Like I needed this. Oh, it feels so good.
Interesting.
I don't want this. I vote against this idea.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Nike.
Yeah, I think the combat features. I just really want to bring it back to that and echoing what Nike said. This needs to be clarified. When ArenaNet have an idea about this, I would like to see them even just like flat out kind of demonstrate some of the ideas that they've had. That might be a little bit risky to actually show that off. But I think
give
it'd
us
be really
the rejected
cool.
ideas.
Give
us ideas they
like
considered
that.
but rejected.
Yeah.
And that way we could at least see the scope.
Because here's the thing. I think your special action key example is incredibly apt. People are thinking, wait, because obviously people are a little bit worried, right? So they obviously think about Doom. They're thinking, what if it's just Ice Brood Saga, EMP or Action Hotkey? Yeah, that would be catastrophic, right? That would be so lame to drop an expansion and your big new feature is that you get a special action hotkey. No, that would be awful. However, if it's a brand new weapon, right, and I'll just use the example that you used in your video, Nike, Warrior gets Staff as a support weapon, and all of a sudden this enables a new playstyle, because this is what elite specs are supposed to be. Elite specializations are to enable a new playstyle, right? That's what they are. That's the point of them. You don't necessarily need to make a full elite specialization to do that. You can add a new weapon. You could add a core trait line. You could add new utility skills into the mix, right? There's a number of different ways where I think that there's room for some design space to expand out certain playstyles and different varieties of what you can kind of pull off and what you can create. It could be other things too, right? You could be looking at gearing, right? You could be adding better gearing options. You could look at runes. You could look at sigils that can enable certain playstyles. There's a lot of things that I think is within, not an elite spec that can kind of have a similar effect in a way to an elite specialization. And yes, even in terms of roleplay, people are saying that's not the point to the players, because yeah, ultimately the point to the players is RP, but I think playstyle and RP is very, very linked. Look, we know for a fact that there are a huge amount of Ellie mains that want to camp 1200 range full glass cannon. We know this. We know this, guys.
And they
again,
all want longbow.
I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to rip off Nike. Longbow, full glass cannon, 1200 range. Add that to Ellie. Think how happy they'd be. Seriously.
And they love the idea of like one attunement, just like locked in.
Only fire.
Or only air. Whatever.
Yeah. Lightning arrow. Nothing else. Warrior.
I miss Ice Bow.
I think people really want to be. People want to be a heal warrior.
There are a lot of warrior.
They want to be heal warriors.
Warrior simps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want that.
People got really excited when Bladesworn had the shout heal build, right? Got wrecked by a patch because of PvP. Unlucky. It wasn't ever that good to begin with, but now it's really not that good. But yeah, people want to play heal warrior, right? And the thing is, this is true of a few professions. I feel like heal warrior just doesn't really have it doesn't have good trait options, right? Like, what trait lines do you take on a support warrior? It's not complete. You can't really make that happen. It's kind of the same on Thief. You kind of have shadow arts,
it needs
but
a
not
weapon
really.
that makes heals. Like if you just literally copy pasted Revenant Staff and gave it to warrior, it would all of a sudden be quite a viable build.
Yeah. And there it is. Just add a weapon.
You can play quickness heal guy.
Yeah.
And it would be fine.
It's very possible. It's very, very possible indeed. So like I said, I don't think the elite spec thing is pure doom. And as much as I hate to say it, as much as I do really enjoy elite specializations, I do think that kind of pumping the brakes on elite specs, at least temporarily, is a good thing for the game. It is a nightmare to maintain this, and and can do insane amounts of damage to the game if not handled correctly. And again, It's a huge amount of work that essentially means they can't maintain the game properly. So I do think that
they're breaking
overall it's
down
gonna be
with
good.
27 elite specs.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
3 years from now, if they
Yeah.
kept the system up, we'd have 54 elite specs. And Roy, his hair wouldn't just be shaved; it would just fall out, and that would be the end of Roy.
Do you
CMC
think
would drink water and just like he would just drink to actually drown
He'd burst.
himself. Yeah.
Do you think they could eventually start dropping like a couple each X-Pack? I think that's a realistic
they would
possibility. Or do you think the pitchforks?
They would never do 3 at once, ever.
You think so?
Never. I think that would actually be marketing suicide, or like
Oh wow.
community. What I don't know what you'd call this. What is this? It's no. I think people will be so enraged by that they would lose their fucking shit. And to be fair, I think be with good reason, right?
Imagine,
okay, I'm not saying, I wouldn't say it's unjustified. I'm saying people would get crazy, but I'm not saying they'd be stupid to get crazy. I'm saying, honestly, I get it. You know, if you imagine being in the 3rd set, right? So not even the middle set. Like you're in the first cycle, and it's like Warrior, Ranger, and Guardian or whatever. Okay, imagine being the group that gets it last. You're like, oh, I get nothing for like 2 years, right? Yeah, you're not gonna be happy with that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like a group of like little kids, like in like 3rd grade, and they're handing out candy. It's like Halloween, but like they only give it to like every other kid, and the other kids have to sit there with no candy while the other kids are having fun eating their candy.
But
oh my god!
Get the candy later.
It would be a kid riot. It would be like the little kids would rise up, and that's exactly what would happen on the subreddit. Little kids
like tomorrow,
rising up.
You're gonna get candy, and those people won't. You know, like. Yeah. Well, I know. I could see it. But like looking at everyone's responses about me being like, oh, they'll totally do that. I don't think they will anymore. Maybe that was their plan. Like, maybe we'll eventually do that. But like after just seeing everyone talk about this, I'm not sure if they still will. I don't know.
I don't know. It's difficult. I mean, if you look at the way they have their balance patches, and you know what? I have to say, I'm not sure if this is working out super well, but you know how they said that they want all of the balance patches to have something for every single profession?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
I'm not sure if that's really been working. And I think they'd probably have that same philosophy with elite specializations or some kind of like combat. It makes sense for the combat updates, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the recent balance patch, it was a little bit spread thin. You know, they tried to do a lot, but they couldn't go deep on like a particular issue. And I understand why, because I think there's a lot of issues. I mean, look, like there's you'll enjoy this, Nike. There are people who leave a comment on like every single one of my videos that just it's like daily reminder that Warrior is a complete mess and you know is worthless, right? There's no reason to play Warrior over Engineer or Mesmer. Weirdly enough, slightly unusual comparison there. But yeah, there's obviously they probably wouldn't want to. They want to make sure that everyone is getting something, right? At least something. Enjoy those Reaper Shrouds, guys. Enjoy that. Yeah.
Everyone will get a special action key in the expansions.
Yeah.
So
and
everyone will get the special action keys. So everyone can be happy. We're all getting special action keys.
Yeah. Feels good.
Can press them.
Enjoy it. We can press them together.
Here's my prediction, though. I think that in this,
maybe people will actually use them.
In this first expansion, I think there won't be anything big. I think the combat features in the first one, like because they just did elite specs in like EOD.
They gotta give us something good. They gotta set the tone positively.
You think so?
I actually completely agree with this.
They have to like hit us with like their best idea.
Well,
in the first one,
they're changing. This is a big change. They're in some ways they're 180ing, right, from their original design philosophy. Again, like Guild Wars 2's history is a series of 180s. If this isn't pretty stellar, I think it's going to be rough. In my opinion, ArenaNet need to impress big time because they've talked the talk. Grouch is the new boss man. Colin's back. Everyone's going crazy. They've completely changed their development cycle. Business model is getting significantly shifted as well. No, this has to be good. It has to be really good. So in my opinion, if anything, they're going to go above and beyond for the next expansion, whenever that's going to come. So it's going to be the really important stuff is going to be the quarterly update we're getting this year. It's got to be a high standard so people are feeling positive and feeling impressed. They've got to nail the expansion and then the next set of quarterly updates. They need to... ArenaNet don't like crunch, but I think they should go unhinged for this because it's really important that this lands well, right? If they flib this and it just kind of crumples and fizzles, then I think that's going to basically send everyone all the way back into Doom mode, right? I feel like we've climbed out of the pit. We're like, Batman in The Dark Knight Rises. We've managed to get out of the evil pit of Doom, but we will fall back into it if the next series of updates don't actually deliver and say that, yeah, look, we've made a change and look, it worked out. It actually was good. This was a good idea. This was a good change. We've made a positive change to the game. We've got a new strategy and it's working really well. That needs to be expressed. Otherwise, I mean, look, Lara's basically gone full Doom. I got to remind you guys.
Doomer on this
seriously,
than you are. This is weird.
Lara is actually more Doomer than me. This is crazy.
Yeah,
this is what happens when you take away Wing 8 from people, right? Lara was like, "Oh wow, I'm so excited. I'm on the Kirin Peak Copium. Let's do this. Wing 8." And then all of a sudden, Wing 8 is just obliterated. And Lara's like, "Yeah, this is a dead game. It's over. It's over."
I'm actually very positive, but just I don't know. I'm not sure if they can. For like expecting like new weapons for every class, I'm not sure if they can deliver that already.
That seems easy.
Isn't that elite specs?
You think so?
It's like 1/3 of an elite spec.
I guess that's fair.
It's a third of an elite spec.
There's no new mechanic you have to come up with, right?
So there's no mechanic. There's no trait line. There's no new animation. Well, I guess they can just reuse animation. So like, it's probably like 25% the work of designing a full elite spec. And I think if the play style is new for that profession, it's good enough where people would be happy with it. I think I would be happy with a new weapon, a new core weapon, because we already have 3 elite specs. So the new core weapon could bring the existing elite specs in a whole new light itself, which would be cool.
Of course, yeah.
And for Ellie, like, it's crazy how much a new main hand weapon would give to Ellie.
You know what I think they might do? I think they might do a new class at some point.
Yeah, could see
this one.
I speculated that.
Yeah, I could actually see it. I could see a new profession. That's a lot of work, though.
But it's not like, so you have a new class with 3 elite specs. That's still less work than 9 elite specs.
True.
That's true.
So it's still within the scope of a reduced thing.
If they did that, do you think they'd probably want to be quite tactical, wouldn't they? They'd want to try to make it really varied so that it would attract
something for everyone.
Yeah. So if they were, let's imagine they do a new profession, it's got 3 elite specializations. They'd probably make each elite spec like really radically different, right? So that it would attract players, elementalist players, thief players, necromancer players, warrior players, right? Like have a real, make sure you've got a great sword on there, right? Because everyone loves great sword, right? Maybe this is actually the meme. They make the longbow build for the new profession like the glass cannon, so it gets all the Ellie mains to join, right? That's big.
Well, too, like they also said in the blog post in the roadmap that the follow-up patches, like the content patches, will expand upon the combat mechanic. I believe was their exact words.
Put out the elite specs during the patches.
So that's what I'm saying. Like you get the new profession and 1 elite spec with the X pack, and then you get the other 2 elite specs in the follow-up patches.
Oh.
Interesting.
That way they don't have to crunch to get it all out at once.
Interesting. Yeah.
I just feel like, again, I this is weird. I mean, never the Doomer person, but I just feel like, EOD being like a year ago, I feel like my expectations are pretty low for combat in like X-Pack 1, the first one that comes out. I know, I've got high expectations for all the content, but I don't think that's going to blow me away yet. I feel like it's going to be something like the Icefoot Saga, like orbs that you pick up, like special action key. I hope I am wrong, though.
I have to say, I agree with Lara. I am worried.
Oh my god.
Like, I can come up with a bunch of fucking awesome ideas. I could do that. that's no problem. But I mean, we're talking about the company that just released the turtle mount as like their killer feature, and skiffs.
Combat mount.
Oh.
Yeah, and they came out with skiffs and turtle as like this huge feature, and everyone like completely just took a shit on both of those things immediately. And I'm like, if these were the best two ideas they had, the next stuff is going to be like way bad.
Whoa,
Like
oh my God.
if these were, dude, if like let's say they had like their vision board of like all their ideas, like their whiteboard, and one of the top idea was turtle circled like with like 4 circles on like A+.
Cool. They're cute. I like turtles.
The turtle is like S tier, and then like
I like the turtle.
If we're down to like C tier for this next expansion, we're gonna be getting like real bad shit potentially. They really need to like crunch their brains and come up with like some good ideas.
Wow, I
It's
mean,
just,
this has gone like Doom. Lara and Nike, if they're out of control, they've gone full Doom.
We've like reversed positions this season. No, but I am genuinely really excited though, because my brain is like, there's like 4 years between POF and EOD, right? That was a set of elite specs. Like realistically, this expansion is probably gonna be 2 years. It's gonna be like a mini expansion, like half the size of EOD. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're gonna do something huge yet. I think they'll get into the swing of things. I definitely think they're gonna do weapons or new claws or maybe elite specs. Who knows? I definitely think they're gonna do some stuff like that, but I'm not sure if it's gonna happen yet. You do have a point though that's I think it's very important that they knock the first one out of the park. So you're actually making me change my mind a little bit.
Imagine if the turtle got an expansion in the first patch that comes out, to where you could get different types of guns on your turtle, and the guy who was like riding in the gunner seat got like the fucking action cam, and it had like a machine gun, and was actually could like blast. That'd be fucking sick. If it was like actually became like a good combat mount, like a weapon platform, that would be sick. They could definitely expand the turtle to make it good.
I think,
but will they?
To be honest,
they can make skiffs good.
With EOD, let me actually just kind of, in defense of EOD, or rather, maybe not defense, but in explanations of Ender Dragons, I think that it wasn't the case that it was like, this is the, we've circled it in, in marker pen 4 times. It's more like, holy shit, we need to ship an expansion in 1 year. We have 0 time to think about this. Let's just kind of throw everything we've got at it and see if any of it sticks. And to be honest, I think it's almost like the other way around. Like, okay, now I'm going to like reverse Doom here, I guess. I look at something like Harbinger and I go, this is like one of the ideas they had but discarded, right? Like, and they're like, okay, fuck it, we need something quickly. We've got to bring this back now because we need an expansion now. We need an elite spec, right? There's a lot of stuff that some of the elite specs and some of especially the features, right? Some of like the Jade bot. So like, what the hell is the Jade bot, right? This is such a weird thing to add to the game. Like a lot of the mastery or Arbor Stone, right? Oh no, I still
Jade bot could be good. I have so many good ideas for making the Jade bot good.
I'm still traumatized from this Arbor Stone stream. Do you guys remember the Arbor Stone stream they did? And they hyped it up so much, and then it was like nothing. Right? It was just the mastery is nothing. The map is nothing. It's like just a random AFK spot in the expansion, right? Like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. They said gameplay. It was called the gameplay features stream. Oh, it was cool. No. Yeah.
I remember this. Like everyone was like dooming, but I was like losing my shit. I was just really happy. It was like a new city. I love Arborstone. I love hanging out in Arborstone. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, just to me it adds to the immersion to have like a hub. Like you're in Canva, but you can actually hang out in Canva. There's trading posts in Canva. You can sit there. You can hang out with people before you distract. I like Arborstone.
It's the one place in the game you can buy ass.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is true.
I will die on this hill.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the Arborstone.
I feel like I have to actually counter Undoom though, because no, I actually this is weird. I actually feel pretty confident that ArenaNet understand that they need to make this combat thing big. Like they're no fools. When that article was being written, they knew people were going to notice no elite specs, right? They knew that they're going to need to have a good response to that because it's going to be one of the very key features that players are looking for in expansions and had come to expect from expansions. Now, I maybe this is going to age terribly. I admit it, and you guys can make fun of me for it if it does. But no, I think they actually are going to do a really good job and make some really exciting combat features. Like new weapons, new trait lines, new utility skills, new gearing options that will enable different play styles. You know, I even... this thing, do you guys remember this? This may have been a fake leak, to be fair. But when EOD was in development, it got leaked, right? There was some kind of... like glyph system or like gemming system where you could upgrade your abilities in some way. Like you could pick like a gem that made a certain skill that you had
I vaguely remember that.
This sounds like giga fake. This sounds like the most fake thing ever.
Well, no, because there are systems like this in other games. I mean, I believe
That's true.
There used to be. This is kind of like very similar how glyphs worked in Wrath of the Lich King in World of Warcraft. I think a lot of the kind of the ARPGs, like the stuff like PoE, has similar systems to this, like with the way that you can kind of like upgrade your different abilities and it will cause different effects to happen. Yeah, like Diablo, all that kind of stuff, right? It has various effects like this. Yeah, Lost Ark, that type of game. I can imagine some kind of system like that being added. That would be a big one, right? That would be a big one. Yeah, New World does this too, right? Yeah, New World does that too. Honestly, that system in New World is actually pretty fun, by the way. It's one of the more interesting parts of the progression and the gearing and itemization, actually, so to be fair. But yeah, no, I could see something like that. Yeah. We'll see how well this ages. We'll see who's right. Okay. Wow, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe I'm getting 1v2 doomed by Lara and Nike. That's an unholy alliance.
No, you know
right
what?
there.
You know, you
like,
have actually
I know that they can do good stuff. I know they could. That they have the bandwidth to give us a new weapon per class. They have it. If 9 elite specs is 100 units of work, a new weapon per class is like 25 units of work. They can do that every year, no problem. And they don't even have to do it every year. They just have to do it once, and then next year can be something totally different. It doesn't have to be the same system every year.
That's true. Yeah.
It can just be like this year it's a new weapon, next year it's a new mount, year after that it's a new this, year after that it's a new that. Like it doesn't have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to be like infinitely expandable. But they could do it. The question just is, I mean, how much trust are you willing to put into them? Because they gave us the turtle, and we need an example, Grouch, of what we can hope to expect for.
I'm really hoping, and honestly, this is especially true in my opinion now that Grouch and Colin are at the company. In my opinion, Grouch does a very good job at communicating. Right, I think he's an excellent front man for the company to have. And of course, as a game director, that's also a pretty useful skill to have. I would absolutely love to see them do some streams, right? Grouch to get on stream and say, hey guys, this is what we're looking at, right? It's what we're talking about. Maybe show off some of the stuff, talk about a few ideas. I think that would be awesome and could really kind of address this. But yeah, I think we're kind of rounded out on this topic. There's one thing that's pretty interesting as well. That's very much related to this as well. We've got the next patch coming out on the 28th, so it's kind of crunch time, right? Like that's really soon, actually, isn't it?
Like a week from now.
Wow. Yeah. But more importantly, to link this to the expansion, tell me. Okay, I'm gonna get made fun of for this. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. In my opinion, the timings that they implied in the post with the map and then another update, I believe, later on, kind of implies that the next expansion is actually very close, or far closer than perhaps we would have ever expected. If you look at the way the timings are potentially looking at, it could even be as early as late this year. So very late in 2023 or early in 2024. That's pretty exciting, I think. I mean, with the way they're talking, it actually does sound like the end of this year, to be frank. That's pretty sick. That's pretty exciting, in my opinion. If that could actually be
It depends when that second patch hits. Because I think some people are thinking, the roadmap ends in May.
Yeah.
The second patch could be in June. But then again, the second patch could also be in November. So it really depends on what the second half roadmap looks like. But yeah, early 2024 seems like the latest that the X-Pack could be.
I think they're being like a bit vague about how many patches will be in these cycles. Like,
I think they said it's 2. It's always 2.
They've confirmed that there should be like 1 now, and then there will be 1 later, which expands upon it. But I don't think they really mentioned like a 3rd or 4th. But I could see them. I think it would be very strange for it to just be 2. I think that they might also have like a patch which has the fractal that they talked about, for example.
Yeah.
They said like the first half of this year, I think. So June makes a lot of sense, maybe. But yeah, like honestly, I don't think they've been really super clear about like how many quarterly patches will be in between these expansions. Yeah. It's pretty tricky to tell. It does sound like 2, but I could see more. I could definitely see it being more than that.
And we can have a little bit of a hint, though, because of the fact that there's going to be 1 map per expansion cycle, right?
Yes.
Or 1 additional map. Realistically, they aren't going to do more than 2 or 3 updates per map, right? They probably can't squeeze that much juice out of it. Yeah, I think, you're probably overdoing it at that stage, or you want to move on to another map. So I think it's pretty fair to kind of have a bit of a guesstimate that it's going to be, maybe you have story patch for that quarter, fractal patch or feature patch in the middle, and then boom, finish off the story, easy, on to the next expansion. Which, yeah, I think kind of fits into that yearly cycle that I think would make a lot of sense to have that, like, a big thing, a really big, exciting thing every year with, like, updates in between would kind of sound to be pretty sensible. And, of course, yeah, when we're talking about, like, February, then maybe in June, and then after that, 3 months after that, who knows? Maybe we get our first taste of what it feels like to have a brand new special action hotkey combat feature for every single profession. I cannot wait, guys. I cannot wait for every boss to drop orbs, and then I pick them up and I use my Necromancer action hotkey.
Okay. You know what? You've actually convinced me. Yeah. Like, this whole argument, I feel it. I'm switching sides, okay? Like, I'd rather live in the vault that you're proposing than the vault Nike is proposing.
What world?
I'm out. Bye, Nike.
Which one? The turtle
no,
world?
I mean,
we're getting a turtle every X-Pack.
Yeah.
We get a siege turtle every X-Pack. Siege Turtle 2. We're running it back.
Now, here's the thing. Now, I want to know where Sneb would have been. Like, this is so sad that it's so crazy.
Okay,
where would he have gone? What side would I have been 3v1'd? Where would he have fallen on this?
Should ArenaNet re-release the Sky Scale as a core expansion feature in the future?
Ooh. That would be cool.
Because on one hand, you have to think about there will be some salty people who, jumped through all the hoops to unlock it in Season 4, who would be like, oh, I can't believe you're giving away the Sky Scale for free to players that buy this expansion. I had to do all this work. But on the other hand, it will sell a lot of expansions. And there's a lot of people who would go, wow, if I buy this expansion, I don't have to buy Season 4, and I don't have to go through this long collection. I can just buy the expansion and get a Sky Scale. I think it would make a ton of sense if Sky Scale becomes a feature of one of the upcoming expansions, if not the very next one.
They could still have the mastery track behind the story, right? I think that, again, kind of the compromise that we talked about earlier, right? They could maybe do that. Or make it so you still have to unlock, there's like a long collection to unlock the mastery somehow, if you kind of like remade it in some sense. But yeah, I really do think that the WoW Dragonflight comparison is incredibly apt that you made earlier. WoW did a very, very good job of it. You log into the game, boom, you get your dragon, you can ride around your dragon, you can customize your dragon, you've got adventures to go on. Very exciting stuff. I always found it a little bit funny. When ArenaNet tried to kind of clap back at WoW for stealing the Sky Scale, they're like, hey, why wait to ride a dragon? Come play Guild Wars 2 right now. I think that's actually such a hilarious ad, considering how long it actually takes to unlock for the average player, to be honest.
400 hours away for a very committed player to get the Sky Scale from a new account.
Kind of a little
I think it's more
bonus
likely.
name,
Fly now in 400 hours.
I think
Yeah.
more likely that they might do like a third flying amount. You
Yeah.
know, not just do exactly the sky
a
skill,
Chiron or whatever, like
but
the horse that
yeah,
you
but
can
like,
ride
you know,
from
make it be like similar to the sky skill, but you can switch into Griffin modes or whatever. I could see that.
Something that's
You
like
know.
better than the sky scale and better than the Griffin.
Yeah, Sky Skull
that'd be fun.
2.0.
What
But
would
like, you know,
be-
then you've suddenly got the thing where you can make your whole expansion around that, right? Which would be kind of epic, actually.
What's the gap in the flying mount design?
That's a fair point.
Is there a,
There's
is
not
there
that much left,
is
there?
there a way you could make a new mount that would actually be very kind of distinguished from the two that exist right now? Because I mean, the Griffin is, you know, the super speedy kind of glider style mount, whereas the Sky Scale, I guess, is a bit like a helicopter, right? It's a little bit slower, but can, you know, move all over the place like that, right? I'm not sure if there's anything that, I mean, I'm sure someone could come up with something pretty good, but I think it would be difficult to find something that would kind of have a good identity, because I would say that this is one of the issues that the turtle struggled from, right? It doesn't really, it's like a bit of everything, isn't it? Right? You know, you kind of fly around on it. It drifts a bit like the beetle, right? All this kind of, oh, hang on. Sneb is in.
I cannot.
You can't stay.
I cannot sit here and listen to this.
Wait, what?
I must interject.
Okay.
I know what they should do with the flying mounts.
What should they do?
To me, it is very clear.
Okay.
Okay. You should be allowed to add another saddle so that you can fly with your friends.
Yes.
Ooh.
Bombing run mode where you can like
Easy
strafe the bad guys and drop bombs on them. as
Yeah.
you fly overhead.
Okay.
I want to be able to drop bombs from the air and stuff. You know how, what was that map? Bloodstone Fen, where you had all those like abilities? Imagine if you could use those abilities while you're the passenger on the Griffin. Wouldn't that be
That's one
sick?
thing too. Like they give you like expandable skills for your mounts, but we never have options. It's just you can fill up your bar with skills. They should give you so many mount skills that you actually have a choice on how you equip it. Like you can go, I want my mount to be like all about maneuvering fast. So I took all these like bonus skills that let me maneuver faster, or go faster, or be more agile. And then someone else might go, I want a bunch of combat skills on my mount. So you actually can swap skills around to make your mount different.
Hang on, I have got to slightly poke holes in this though. Because wouldn't this be kind of useless unless you already had the flying mount unlocked? So wouldn't this be a really weird expansion feature to ship? Basically a mastery that does nothing unless you've already played the game.
That's why we're giving the flying mount away with the expansion.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Interesting.
Honestly, I think people would love that. Like everyone would love that.
Do
you know how there's the guild that Willow leads, I think?
Yes.
I think it's Willow that leads it.
Wing
or something?
Wing,
yeah. They do really cool stuff. Imagine if they could go around and they could say, yeah, just hop on the Griffin with us. We'll show you how it goes. And then they just do all like the cool aerial tricks and stuff. Oh, that would be so cool.
Multiplayer flying mounts. I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Wing 8
Maybe
is dead,
like
by the way, guys.
like a gunship.
Yeah.
Yes, I do not have to turn into a slug. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, do you want to actually just briefly explain what will you do if Wing 8 releases this year? Just tell the stream the bet.
If Wing 8 releases this year, I will cover my entire body in Vaseline and pretend I am a slug on stream.
You know, ArenaNet, can we just like not do Wing 8? Like, I just not sure if this is a great idea.
I'm pretty confident there's no Wing 8.
Yeah.
Pretty confident.
But you'd like there to be, right? I feel like that.
I mean, that's up for debate, but you know.
I feel like this is a 2 birds with 1 stone situation if we get Wing 8 this year for you.
Yeah. I actually, very, very quick PSA, guys. Wing 8 is not happening. I have to admit, I did not predict this response. There were a lot of people who genuinely thought that they were going to announce Wing 8 or raids with the roadmap, which is, this is, I don't even know a good analogy for this. It's just all the evidence and everything that ArenaNet was doing was communicating that raids were essentially not a thing. And people still were like, there's a chance, there's hope, I believe ArenaNet will do it. There hasn't been a raid for 3 years. I'm like, oh yeah, Wing 8 is going to be on its way. Like, I'll say this. The only way ArenaNet would ever consider anything like a raid ever again is if squad content, that is to say strike missions, do like exceptionally well. So if you want a raid, if any of you out there, you want a new raid wing, then this is what needs to happen. You
Anxiety
need
medicine
to get
into the water supply.
Get on the board. Get on board with the strike missions.
Have you ever seen Dumb and Dumber?
No, actually.
Jim Carrey?
I mean, I know who's in it, but I haven't seen the film.
There's this scene where he's basically like borderline creepy stalking this woman, and it's a comedy, and he goes up to her, and he's like, "Just give it to me straight. What does a guy like me have with a girl like you? What kind of chances a guy like me have with a girl like you?" And she looks at him. She's like, 1 in a million? And then he just goes quiet for a second and he says, "So you're telling me there's a chance?" That's just all the Raiders ever. Guild Wars 2.
That is true. Yeah, that actually is very accurate. Yeah. You can see here that 73% of people want Wing 8. I mean, I guess that means ArenaNet need to add it. I mean, that's a large majority right there. It really is. Yeah. Raids, guys. It's not happening. Kilbrooke didn't kill Raids.
Glenna is dead. Glenna is dead.
Yeah. Is there any forbidden law on Glenna?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure that certain subreddit probably has some art to that direction.
Yeah. Didn't you dig up some works of literature that contain Glenna?
Yes.
Let's talk about the patch, everyone.
On fanfic.net, there is some Glenna lore.
There's a cool patch coming like a week from now. I'm really excited. Can we talk about that? Just like I know, maybe Wing 8. No. Wing 8.
Give in, Lara. Come on, you're
Yo,
just
okay,
embrace it. Embrace the degeneracy. There's no way.
There's no Wing 8, okay? But the fact that they are gonna keep doing strike CMs, I think is pretty good. And the fact that there's gonna be a fractal CM makes me really happy. Even if it's not raid, I'm pretty happy. And we're changing the topic. We're not talking about Glenn anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're completely correct here. I think strikes are a really good compromise from ArenaNet here on this. Realistically, raids are just not viable for ArenaNet to develop. They are really resource intensive. They're really hard to make. I mean, think how much more intensive the QA needs to be. Well, I mean, that sounds like a bit of a meme, considering how buggy the recent patches are. But yeah, they're really hard to make compared to normal content because of their very nature. They're a little bit more hardcore. The tuning is more relevant, right? Everything is more relevant. Like the fight actually working is more relevant, and they're obviously more complicated than most fights. It's simply not really viable right now. And strikes are essentially raids, except actually sustainable. And we see that now with the commitment that ArenaNet has made to 2 strikes with every expansion being released. So yeah, that's what's going on here. It's unfortunate, obviously. We all love raids. Who doesn't? But raids simply not really gonna work, I'm afraid. But strike mission CMs, fractal CMs every year. It's a good start. It's a good place to be, for sure. It really is. And kind of on this as well. This is one complaint that I actually do want to talk about. This is something that needs to be brought up, I think, and it is an observation that, how could I put this? Other MMOs still get quite a lot of. They get a lot of stuff, right? Okay, let's not beat about the bush. Other MMOs do tend to release significantly more content than Guild Wars 2. If you go to another MMO and say, oh yeah, we're getting 1 dungeon a year, right? Or we're getting 2 raid bosses a year. Obviously, they're going to kind of look at you a little bit funny. Of course, it is worth noting that a lot of the content that ArenaNet releases is kind of the open world story content. It's not like a big focus to have instance content, but I have to say, I do hope that in the future we can see a little bit more, because I admit it, I was a little disappointed with the strike mission count. You know, I am a big fan of the strikes, the Ender Dragons, especially the challenge mode content. I was really hoping to have a few more. I'd like to see 2 fractals a year at some point. Now I'm really on the copium. Like, I've absorbed all of Lara's copium, leaving her just a withered up husk of doom. That's what's happened here, by the way.
I think in a previous tea time, I had asked what the high end of strikes per year expectation was and what the low end would be. And I think we all agreed that 2 was the minimum that we were going to get, and that 4 was going to be the maximum that they could have ever done. So I think they have given us what we all said was the minimum, which, I mean, is probably what we should have expected.
You know why I think that is, though? I think that's because of the fractal. Because realistically, these are like the same theme. And like, you know, a fractal is actually a little bit like a raid in the sense that it's not just like one encounter, but there's like a whole, you know, there's like multiple things going on. There's a whole path going through it. There's probably like quite a lot of QA that has to be done for it as well. So I think I think they could have done either 4 strikes or 2 strikes and a fractal, especially with the fractal having a challenge modes. You know, we only have 3 fractal challenge modes in the entire game right now, and they want to do like basically 1 per expansion cycle. I think that's the reason that there's only 2 strikes. I was like kind of surprised that the patches that are coming out, the quarterly patches, I was kind of expecting we'd be getting a new strike, like in the patch, like which is like a week from now. I even still see people being like, "Oh, are you excited for the strike that's coming?" And I'm like, "Yo, there's no strike coming in this patch. They didn't announce anything about that." But I think it's about the fractal. I think right now the encounters team that has been doing all these different strikes, I think right now they're probably like hardcore working on the fractal instead. So yeah, they only have so much bandwidth to do stuff, right?
They do. It's unfortunate, and I do think this has to be called out. You know, like, look, we all love Guild Wars 2 here. You know, we're big ArenaNet simps, of course. But I do think this is something that ArenaNet need to kind of steadily find ways to improve on, because at the end of the day, Guild Wars 2 is essentially competing with these other products. It's competing with World of Warcraft. It's competing with Final Fantasy, right? That is just the way it is. And I do think that to truly be able to combat these games, it does need to try to push out more content, right? I imagine there's going to be an adaptation process, right, as they adjust to the new development cycle, and you know, they'll hopefully do really, really well, be able to hire more staff, get more developers on board, right, and hopefully make more stuff. But yeah, I have to say, I do really hope that what we've heard here, you know, the amount of content that's to come is kind of like the starting point, right? Like, this is going to be, okay, we're going to get this going, going to blast this out. Let's see if we can go a little bit further. Because it's not that it's not enough. I mean, bear in mind, it's actually going to be significantly more, right, than we're used to. So I'm not complaining either way, but obviously, you know, I do actually care about the game. You know what? Contrary to popular belief, I actually do like Guild Wars 2, and I would really like to see it truly shine and to get to the, you know, to get to the heights that I believe it deserves. And to do that, they do need to find ways to make more content. I am sorry, as much as I love Guild Wars 2, 2 bosses a year is not very much content, okay? Compared to other MMOs, it really, really isn't a lot. To be honest, and neither is 1 dungeon. I mean, I don't want to, you know, labor the point too much, but yeah, I think we need to see a growth on this over time.
We're switching sides again.
They really have an issue in that they're trying to compete with WoW, but WoW has about 8 or 9 times the annual revenue that Guild Wars 2 brings in. So it's going to have potentially 8 times less content than WoW can release at the same level of quality. The money situation is kind of insurmountable in those terms without growing the player base. If the player base continues to double, like we saw, like if Steam continues to snowball and get bigger and bigger and bigger, that's the hope. Because if the player count, if the average concurrent player count or whatever, or X-Pack sales doubles every X-Pack, then you start to get to the point where they could give us more content. But if the player count stays flat, then this is what we can expect forever, because the money has to come from somewhere for these things.
Yep.
And
Player
that's where
housing.
I am like the ultimate believer, because I think that just this new format, we haven't even talked about this very much, but
Ooh.
just the new format, I think is just gonna like, you know how they talked about how shortly after EOD, I think they talked about how the number of active players had like doubled. Was that what they said? It was like some statistic like that, or and they like outsold POF like rather quickly and stuff. I think that if you keep this going, you know, you don't have like expansion and then you have a massive content drought, you actually get into this cycle of putting out expansions regularly, even if they're a bit smaller. I think the potential for Guilders 2 to get like genuine exponential growth is actually like pretty high. Just like constantly being in a news cycle, constantly like being like, oh, there's a new expansion coming out. And especially if they can keep doing something exciting every expansion, right? Like, because that's how you pull other people in, right? I think a massive reason why Dragonfly was so successful was just like, well, it's an exciting feature. You can fly on the cool dragon mounts. If they, and I think that's the really hard part. I think they can do the thing where they put out the content, where they have a story and they have maps and they have strikes and they have fractals. I think the really tricky part is getting something exciting in all of these expansions, which is kind of what we were talking about before with like the combat features. If they can manage to pull that off, and honestly, I believe, because like again, season 4 days, we just got the roller beetle in like a random living world patch, right? A roller beetle could be an exciting expansion.
Yeah, they
feature.
blew it. They gave away. They gave away something that they could have sold for a lot of money for free.
It was a big downside. It was definitely a big downside of Living World, right? Is that happened with the roller beetle and with the sky scale, right?
The sky scale. The sky scale
These
was
could be
probably
expansion
worth.
sellers.
If you think about expansion feature, if you think about the sky scale as an expansion selling feature, the sky scale was probably worth like $50 million.
Oh, you think so?
And they gave it away for free. Think about that. All-time bad business decision.
Yeah,
like that's what they're
like
swapping it up now, right?
bad.
They're swapping it up now, and then again, I have faith because they've shown that they can do stuff like that. If they can actually get into this cycle where they are constantly putting out kind of exciting expansions and there's content in there, then the game can grow. Then more people can play. Then they can hire more people, and then who knows? Maybe then we'll actually get more strikes every year. And we'll get 2 fractals a year. And maybe we'll get Wing A. Maybe not Wing A. But who knows? Who knows? I have a lot of faith in the future.
Also, one thing they need to do with the cash shop
Yeah.
is when they come out with a thing like a sky scale at the expansion, when the expansion hits, they should have the mount skins all ready for sale. Like lots of them already for sale. The whales are ready day one to whale. The whales, they want to whale.
They enjoy doing it.
When the expansion drops, the second they log in, the first thing they want to do is first they want to unlock the sky scale with as soon as they log in. The second thing they want to do is go to the gem store and go, oh my God, 100 sky scale skins. And I can buy the 20 of them that I love the most. And actually whale out. That's what they want. The problem is it's like a month before the first sky scale skin comes out. And then like they trickle them out. Like, no, you gotta go. If you're gonna milk the whales, milk them hard and milk them fast. Strike while the iron's hot. They're all there. They're ready. They want it. Give them the skins day one.
Look, I want to expand on my idea.
Sneb is back. What's your idea?
A Phoenix mount.
Okay.
The Phoenix mount has 2 saddles initially, so it's it's kind of like a more chill flying mount, you know, like the beginner flying mount.
Yeah,
it's not as fast as a griffin. It can't really go as high as a sky scale. It's kind of like the medium one.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it like picks up speed if it stays going
Ooh, so it
horizontally. It just
accelerates.
gets fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it accelerates if it stays
Oh.
horizontal.
So burning speed,
Oh.
yes, that's what you'd call it. And then what this does is it initiates the ability to get some masteries and or some achievements that surround getting a double saddle for both the sky scale and the griffin. So this introduces the idea of having 2 people on a flying mount, but then it also upgrades the other mounts. Everyone likes that idea. Come on, hire me. There you go. Boom. Dropping
I
the
would hire
knowledge
you.
bombs.
Sneb has gone from contacting ANET devs on LinkedIn to having ArenaNet on his LinkedIn, as he's now employed.
I like it. Sounds good to me.
I mean, I
Yo.
think the chat seemed to like it.
I think it's just a good idea. I think people really like the flying mounts a lot. But I think the main reason people liked the turtle was the idea of playing with a friend. They just liked that idea, but it turns out the turtle is pretty useless in 99.99% of situations. You never want to use the turtle in open world because it doesn't really do anything. But you see
It's
everyone
too
on their sky
slow.
scales and on their griffins because it lets them get places faster. So what if you could help new players? And what if you could get your friends and run around the world together and fly? Look, the first thing I'm doing if that comes out is I'm contacting Wing and I'm like, look, I'll pay you 100 gold. Just take me on like a worldwide Tyrion tour on the Griffin.
The Phoenix. And the
just take me on a tour of the world. And then the Aladdin song would play, you know, like a whole new, I can't sing, not with this voice, but you know, a whole new world.
Yeah.
Like that would play. A new fantastic point of view, and it's just me flying through the sky. It's beautiful. It's
I'll
magical.
play this song on the harp for you.
And they have 1,000
Yeah.
Phoenix skins for sale day one.
Yeah.
To just,
And all of it says all
the whale's
proceeds will go
udders
to
will be
Wing 8.
raw
Yep.
after
It's
day
beautiful.
1 of the X Pack.
This all comes full circle. All proceeds of the Phoenix skins will go to Wing 8, where there will be a Phoenix boss. There you go. And a
Please
special
love me with that
unlockable
song.
Phoenix skin
He
at the
lost
end
me
of
there.
Wing 8. Oh,
Yeah.
massive.
Honestly, the illness has gone to his head, guys. He's completely coped up. Like he's out of control. Have we kind of covered just about everything? I feel like we've got through. What was there? Is there anything that we've forgotten to actually mention here?
Ganaxa.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh,
It's
yeah, we're
happening.
going. Yeah,
the
I'm excited.
screenshot.
yeah. The
Yes.
screenshot. Yeah, we're going under the Jade Sea.
I'm
for
so
the, next content.
excited.
It could be sunken, the sunken Kaineng.
Yeah, Sunken Kaineng. Yeah, and
Which could also still be Canaxi. Like, he could be just hanging down there.
It's possible, but they talk like there's a foe under the Jade Sea, right? And you come face to face with the foe under the Jade Sea. It's possible they do an episode where you go to Kaineng, and then during the story you quickly go to the Jade Sea, you know, for one instance. But I think it's much more likely we're going to the Jade Sea. You know?
lore-wise, what happened with Canaxi in Guild Wars 1?
He dead, but
I mean,
he's
like,
a
is he
demon.
actually dead? He's like a demon, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? What happens if you kill him? Does he just come back?
He might be back.
That's what I mean.
Yo,
Like,
I'm
maybe
like-
he's just back, right?
Yeah, like Doom just gets like imprisoned. He doesn't
Yeah.
get killed. Like, he's still around.
I know this is not like a lore podcast, but I have like a million theories as to what is going on. I'm so excited. Like, and
Yeah.
Rama's gonna be back, and like, oh my gosh, this is I'm really excited. And there's all the teases about a sea monster, but maybe Canaxi and the sea monster are related somehow. Maybe Canaxi is working with the sea monster. Maybe the purists are working with Canaxi and they're sacrificing people to have long lifespans, and they're
sacrifice.
vampires. And I'm so excited that this is coming out like a week from now. Like, genuinely. And there's a new map, and there might be like a new meta. Like,
Yes.
oh. And like, there's gonna be the new Suwon
Lara has recovered.
variant.
Lara
Like-
has
like,
recovered. There was a
yes,
brief moment of doom, but
No, it's not even Doom. It's just I feel
That
like
was
my
almost a copium
expectations-
overdose.
Yeah.
My expectations are like low for that, but for this my expectations are very high. and and then maybe to get the Suwon variant, you have to go and do the new map, and and then the realm is gonna be there, and with a hat, and Canucksai, and Canucksai can be my friend. I'm so excited.
Look at this insane new Twitch feature, by the way. Someone just dropped into the stream and just hit me with this. If you do @ and then a streamer's name in your title, it gives you an automatic mouse over link. Look how crazy that is. And now look, now you can mouse over the stream title and it shows all the hosts and all their social media links. This is an actual good feature. That's actually insane. That's crazy. Wow. I like that. That's good.
It's not as exciting as the patch that's coming next week.
That is true. That was a mega derail. Yeah, no, personally, I'm definitely really excited for if there's some kind of boss event, right? I'm not expecting Suwon, obviously, but I'm a big fan of the open world stuff, right? Like, I love, I really like a good world boss. And they did show a kind of 3-platform setup, right? And I think that could be a pretty cool place to fight, like some kind of giant monstrosity under the Jade Sea. Could be very cool. Could be very, very cool.
And different lanes. I'm not entirely sure if there's gonna be a big meta yet. Because my guess is that they'll expand this map over time, right?
They'll add it
like
later,
how they
maybe.
did with Biora. Yeah, so maybe in Biora, there's a meta in the first half, the storms of winter. It's not as exciting. The really exciting meta is Jakar in the second half, right? So I think maybe the really exciting meta on the new map might be coming a couple months from now, but who knows? I don't know. The platforms look cool. The platforms look like it might be a Dragon's End style situation kind.
So on the
there's
high
no way it's
end
going to be as hard.
of our expectations, we have a meta with Canaxi or something like that. And on the low end, it's just a Quaggan city down there. And
that would be even better.
We're gonna log in and go down there, and it'll be like, something's in the water, and then that's gonna be that's gonna be it. And there's gonna be no content except Quaggans.
Yo, the implications of Quaggans being in Canfa though. There's barely any Quaggans in Canfa. I want that. Can we do that? I'm in. Let's go. You try to Doom here, but I actually want a Quaggan city.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
That's fine, but I think not a lot of people are on board with that.
But maybe the Quaggans know about Canuckside. They're the big evil lives over there. We stay over here.
Maybe as a bit of a final point to wrap up on here. How long do you think they've actually had to work on all this stuff? The reason I say that, I'm just wondering if I'm wondering how much they're going to try to kind of give you a little tease at the end of this kind of set of updates, right? Before the next expansion, are they going to have enough time to kind of, how at the end of season 2 they had a big Heart of Thorns teaser, right? Basically. And it really led into Heart of Thorns. I wonder if they've got something like that planned, because I think they really want to create this connection between all the updates, basically, so that you're always like, aha, I'm ready for the next one after this, rather than having an end where the momentum kind of stops. I really think they want to push momentum, right, with this approach to releasing content. So I'm just curious how much preparation and time to work on this do you think they've had, and will they be able to actually do they actually have something like that ready to go, or is it just going to be a bit weird?
A year since EOD came out, right? And my guess is that they kind of did the season 1 return mostly in parallel to EOD. I feel like they had a small amount of people do the season 1 return. That wasn't their whole team. This track probably needed some resources, but I 100% think there's gonna be a tease. There's actually an interview with Bobby Stein where he says something like there might be some hints towards the next expansion. I think that's paraphrasing roughly what he says, but that's how you get people hyped. You have the big tease at the end. I imagine that this expansion and these patches have been developed in tandem. They're probably hard at work at what the expansion is, right? If you're making both a bunch of patches at the same time as you're making your expansion, clearly you're going to use that opportunity, right? Clearly you're going to use the opportunity to hype it up and be like, yo, big story threads. We're going to, I don't know, we're going to Janfair, we're going to Zoteka, who knows where we're going. But it would be such a gigantic missed opportunity if they don't like do the tease. I honestly think they might be going into whatever the story is now, right? Because the whole dragon story is like done. But like whatever comes next, I think is already gonna like slowly set up what the next thing is. I generally think that the patch next week, I might be entirely like way too excited, but I generally think that there might be some like, oh wow, now we're dealing with demons. Maybe the next expansion will be demon related. I don't know, something like that. I 100% think it's gonna lead into it. 100%.
Okay. All right then. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap things up. In fact, I dread every single time we talk about actual news or something like this. I dread it because we always forget something, and then we get bullied for missing something. But that's okay. You know what? I like that. I enjoy that. That's content. Gets that engagement going. But anyway, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm fixing my sleep schedule, right? I'm a little frazzled. I've been playing Harvest Temple CM all day. And I'm actually going to play some more after this as well, actually. So that's content. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Crab Toss. Good call, actually. But anyway, gamers, do we have any final thoughts on the roadmap, right? Final wrap-ups here before we go and do some outroductions and then disappear forever from the internet and join Sneb in the abyss.
I want to join Canucks in the abyss. That sounds good to me. No, okay. I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. I'm excited about the new format. I think there's a ton of potential. We have to see how they actually pull it off, but I think they have been really smart about sort of like analyzing where the issues are with current Guild Wars 2 patch cycles. And I think they've been very smart about like, yo, these are things we can fix. On paper, it makes total sense. I guess now we just gotta like wait and see if they actually pull it off. But I believe. I'm a believer. I think this is gonna be a bit of a turning point for the game, to be quite honest.
Okay. Nike, kind of overall or final thoughts?
You should be somewhere in between cautiously optimistic and cautiously pessimistic. Somewhere in between.
Ooh.
Just cautious.
So bang in the middle, pretty much.
Just be cautious.
Yeah. Don't get
don't lower
overhyped.
your guard.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open. Looking ahead. Focus on danger. Whoa, danger. Whoa. But just focus and be aware. And
beware the special action hotkey, right?
Yeah.
Watch out for that.
And you know what? Whatever happens, just that's what it is. And if you don't like it, get the fuck out. And do something better with your time. Like the game is scuffed. It's getting better, but it has its problems. And you just gotta either like it for what it is, or that's it. Just accept it. Accept it. And if you can't accept it, then find something you can accept. Open your heart. Find something else.
Wow. And that really is beautiful. I'm not sure I can really follow these sentiments, but yeah, I guess to give my kind of final thoughts of wrapping up, I'm definitely, I feel like I'm the most optimistic here. Okay, a lot of the time. Yeah, I'm actually super optimistic about it. I'm really enjoying the vision for the game. I think it's a good set of changes. We finally have potentially some really good consistency. I mean, I do begrudgingly agree with Nike though that I really think that we should all have a little bit of we'll believe it when we see it, right? In a non-overly cynical way. But yeah, I do think I'm not going to feel comfortable. I don't feel like I can say, holy shit, this, it really is turning around until we actually see it. I think you have to have a reasonable approach. And once this stuff actually ships and we can actually evaluate it and review it, then that's when we can say it's the year of Guild Wars 2, or maybe not the year of Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, I'll get hyped when they say what the combat mechanic is for the first X-Pack, and it's great, or it sounds great. Like when they actually go, it's going to be this, and we're like, oh my god, that is actually awesome. Yeah. That's when I'll be hyped. But until then, I have to be cautious.
Stay tuned. Cautious. Yeah. 100%. I think that is a very sensible way to approach things. But anyway, I think that'll just about do it for Tea Time today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. And of course, thank you to my wonderful host for joining. Okay, we've had one roadmap today, but I've got a question to ask Lara, and that is Timberwind roadmap when?
Oh, I didn't think you were gonna ask that.
Yeah. Destroyed.
I
I got you.
Oh no. I'm too busy playing Guild Wars.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, it might be good if they just don't release any content for like a year. Like, then I can be more productive on Timberwind. That would be good.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But well, anyway, where can we find you? Where can we locate Lara on the internet? Well, you could click on the stream tile now. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could also do !mark hosts. And of course, if you're on YouTube right now, click on the links. But Lara, tell us a little bit about what's going on. What are you up to these days?
Stream Guild Wars 2, and it's really fun. I like streaming Guild Wars 2. You can find me at twitch.tv/Norency. I also try to make YouTube videos, but I am not. I don't know, Teapot, how you post like one video like every day. That's what it feels like. I can't keep up at all. So if you like occasional YouTube content, you should check out my YouTube. It's really fun. Yeah, that's about it. I'm really excited about everything. There might be a trailer like tomorrow or like Tuesday for the patch. Like that might happen. So that's the thing. Thank you for having me on TeaTime. This was really fun. I really enjoyed these.
Okay. Nike. Zwift extraordinaire. The most competitive esport in the world. Zwift
World Championships
gaming.
was yesterday. Yep. Yeah. It was great.
Huge. Okay. Where can we I mean I don't even know. I don't even know. You tell me. You tell me. Give yourself your own outro. I can't do it.
Come to my YouTube channel where we discuss Guild Wars 2, and there's like all sorts of fun stuff on there, guides, news of the day, that sort of thing. Maybe like 1 or 2 videos a month, but they're worth your time. They're not a piece of shit that people pump out just for clicks. They're actually good. Back in the day, ArenaNet retweeted them all the time. I don't know what changed, but that fell off a little bit.
The Onion Farm in particular.
Yeah, the Onion Farm. Yeah, that was good. And then, but Twitch, I don't stream Guild Wars 2 anymore because it's impossible to stream Guild Wars 2 unless you like pugging or you have a large community. And I don't have either of those anymore, so I don't like it. It's not a stream-friendly game. I'll say that. But I do stream Zwift, so if you're interested in actually competitive esports, you should check that out.
Well, okay, there you go. And of course, you can go ahead and check the links in the video. Make sure to follow all these creators. I can't say anything with Sneb. Sneb!
Well, I wasn't even really a guest.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just the squeaky guy.
I put you in the title. I did put you in the title, and you did contribute, and therefore I feel like you should say something. You deserve.
You know what? That one
idea
is big. That's all I needed to say. That's the mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'll just say that I play Guild Wars 2 and I stream it. Twitch.tv/Snebzor. And same thing on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And the leader of the Skane Gang, which is the largest guild that makes statics in the game. So we make raid teams. If you want a raid team, if you want to learn a raid, come talk to us. Yeah. Discord.gg/Skane Gang.
Yes.
What does Skane Gang mean?
A Skane is a flock of geese in flight. And geese, if they're ever hurt or one is sick or whatever, other geese stay back and help that goose until it's feeling better, and then make a smaller V to get to the big V.
That's so wholesome.
That's our
Aren't geese like
that's
really
our
sexually
mantra.
Aggressive?
Wait,
isn't that like a thing? There's a lot of surprise mechanics involved in their breeding and reproduction.
No, none of
That's
those.
That's true. Look
it.
Google it, Chuck.
Yeah.
Look, the guild is based off the mantra of helping people when they're a little bit behind.
No, I never knew that. Thank you for explaining.
There you go. Be sure to check out Sneb. He may not have a voice, but he does have Guild Wars 2 content. Yeah, he does have a heart, guys. He has a heart for everyone who wishes to, have the warm embrace of raids, and they're out in the cold, alone, abandoned in the NA raid LFG. Sneb is there to comfort those lost to the void. But anyway, that's all we've got. Follow all the links. Subscribe everywhere. Follow this stream as well, and definitely subscribe. Come watch the Tea Times live. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the roadmap. Tell us why we're so incredibly wrong. Tell Sneb why his idea is terrible and awful, worst idea ever. I want to see a comment top upvoted with that. We need to get that in there. We've got to get some drama going here. Make Sneb be forced to reply to it. All that kind of good stuff. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, gamers. Really hope you've enjoyed the Tea Time today. Lots more to come, as always, from me and all of these wonderful creators here. I will be right back in just a moment. But until then, thanks for watching, gamers, and we will see you all next time.